Ooh, the paper's pretty too.
That's a good question.
Welcome to my unboxing channel.
Ooh,
The
use
paper's
I was
pretty.
use a lifestyle
I'm a lifestyle.
guru.
Right, I'm a lifestyle vlogger with my blue
Hmm.
light glasses that I hate having to wear, but otherwise I don't sleep.
Uh, that sucks. I have to wear mine, otherwise I can't see. So, must be nice.
It must be nice. Oh,
Must be nice to
the
see.
pastel ones are pretty too.
Those are really pretty. Yeah, I actually had what was I was in Walmart and I saw the like Crayola had a huge box of skin like a, or I say huge, it's a big box of skin colored, like all flesh tones. And I was like, I really wish that I cared about like that sort of
Drawing stuff.
art
Yeah.
because that's cool. I wanted to buy it for someone that I don't even really know anyone that I could just send it to.
Are we live? We should switch to live.
We're live.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I don't know what time it is. Sorry. Hi.
we've been live this whole time that I've
I'm
been
over
talking.
here just like casually opening up crayons like I'm a fucking toddler.
Yeah, see, usually,
You tell me.
well, that's the thing is
And
when
the
I
one
tell
time
you,
you
you're
don't.
always like, "Oh,
You're
no," and
right.
the
The
ones
one
you
time,
always say,
okay.
"You don't need to tell me. I got it. I
Fine,
know." And
Aisha.
I'm like,
The
"Okay."
one time, okay. So I have been shaming Aisha a lot in this process. And
Mhm.
2 times she has done something for one live that I've grown accustomed to that I give her shit for, and she doesn't do it. I am upset. I am acknowledging my 90s seme nature where you cannot make me happy.
I mean, I'm at this point, I'm not really trying to make anyone but myself happy, so to be fair.
You have become, I
You're
already
good.
knew that you were like aggressively a Taurus, but like you've become more Taurus in ways that like frankly scare me sometimes.
I am I like it because
Well, of course you do.
I don't enjoy who I used to be.
You're an Ayn Rand Ubermensch main character of your own
I
narrative. Fuck everyone else. Of course you're
it's
fine with it.
it's not so much fuck everyone else, it's more so like I know what I want and I'm on my own path and so is everyone else. And that's it. Like that's it. I'm not going to do things that don't please me. I'm not go, but I'm also not going to go out of my way to hurt people. But then again, I mean, I also I can control nothing except for the way I feel. And right now, I'm vibey. I'm vibing
Okay.
and hydrated.
Okay. I know I did something like that after I got out of an abusive relationship and I was just like hyper self-actualized. I cut like a ton of people out of my life and it was like really really good for a while and then I got like too self-actualized. I just started cutting like anyone because it's like
Mm,
you're hurting my feelings and it's like no, you're just defensive because you got out of an
mhm.
abusive relationship. Like you're just those like ferns that if you touch them they all just like curl in and
Oh, yeah, the little
the
teenage
little yeah, I
they're
was
so
that
cute.
basically that like any
Mm,
slight was like but like I was
yeah.
so then I ended up cutting out people that were like no, they weren't trying to hurt you. You're
Mm,
just prickly right now because you got out of an abusive relationship. So like yeah, like for the first like year or so it was fucking great. I cut out a ton of
mhm,
toxic forces. My skin was clear. I was feeling good. And then I think like the second or third year
mm.
is when I started like I just became like the villain in Tarzan. I was just hacking at the jungle, just
Yeah.
willy
I
nilly.
mean, see, that's the thing. That's the wonderful thing about, being different people. Girl, I'm not gonna
Well, I mean,
that's not
I'm not apologetic of it. I like
mhm,
in hindsight, I
mhm.
I would have wanted to be different. I'm not apologetic,
Uh,
far from. Like the people that I cut are still cut, but like
yeah.
in hindsight, I do wish that I had been more scrupulous with that. Like
Mm,
I gave myself more time to think about these things because I
mhm,
know at least like for me and my journey has been I will cut at the quick very fast.
mhm.
And then sometimes, not very often, sometimes I do regret that.
Yeah.
because I didn't give a person a chance to grow and be better.
Yeah.
Um,
I think,
again, not
yeah.
often,
Right.
but every once in a
Right.
while, it's like, wow, I really did not give this human being a chance, and that
Yeah.
sucks.
I get that. I mean,
Yeah.
for me, because, first, I live in my head. So I will say that I have a tendency to, I will be thinking about things. I'm just not vocal about
Hmm.
it while I'm thinking about it,
Hmm.
because I don't want outside influence while I'm thinking about it, unless I'm like, hey, person who is impartial,
Wait,
listen to
who's
this and tell me if
impartial?
I'm crazy.
Right.
Oh, trust me, I got people who
Okay,
have no
that's fair.
problem
That's fair.
telling me, like, girl, you're nuts.
See,
So
that's
I
so
can just,
interesting to me.
I mean, but yeah, I have a whole like I feel like I try to explain to people, like, I'm here, like, I'm still here on this earth right now because I've had such a huge support system for
Sure.
me through my whole life. And so I'm so used, I don't have a problem
Hmm.
with, like, being open with people, and so
Hmm.
therefore they don't have a problem being open with me
Hmm.
usually. And so they're just like, I don't know, I feel like I'm open to criticism, but I also feel like at some point, I have to also think about what actually I want, because nobody knows me more than or better than I know myself,
See,
you
I
know.
think that's so interesting because, like, I know I've mentioned this before, and we're
Mhm.
gonna talk about boys love in a minute, guys. Don't worry. Um, I am the exact opposite, where I
Mm.
never trust my feelings. I
Mhm.
always assume there's something ulterior in it because I have this
Mhm.
horrible beast inside of me called trauma.
Mm.
So I never trust my feelings. I am constantly putting feelers out to others to kind of help, almost like echolocation, where I'm
Mm.
hoping that it bounces off of someone and it's like, do I sound crazy?
Mm.
And, I'm similar. I have a plethora of people that are, I don't want to say like impartial, but are at least like more stable. And
Mhm.
it's like, no, like your feelings are valid, but the way you're acting about them isn't. Like, I'm lucky that I
Mhm.
have a lot of that. Like, I don't have a lot of people anymore in my life that are like, no, your feelings are bad and you're bad and you should feel bad. I have a
Mhm.
lot of people who are like, your feelings in, thank you, like your feelings in that moment are valid.
Mhm.
The way you're going about expressing those feelings is not.
Yeah.
So it's like, you can be hurt by what happened. What
Mhm.
you're now doing, which is like ignoring or being passive aggressive or whatever, or like
Mhm.
sending tweets, that is not an okay response
Mhm.
to how you feel hurt.
Yeah, it is best to be on, which, see, that's the Taurus in me, because honesty
Mhm.
for me is a big thing. And I will say that I've had to learn that not everyone can handle honesty. And I don't think I've ever been mean in my honesty, but,
Mhm.
like, not some people just don't some people just don't cope well with just being
Okay,
like,
but
this is
also real talk,
this.
because I know like
Mm,
we have this in the queer community. There's a
mhm.
fine line between I'm an honest person and no, you a hoe.
Yeah, but
Like
see, I'm
you're,
not a I
I know you're
okay,
not,
ask
but like
all of my friends, and, like, literally, I've never ever been told that I'm mean. I've
I
never
know.
been
I'm just
told,
saying that the fine line exists. I am
but
not
it
calling you out.
does.
I
It
that was
does.
not me calling you out.
I
I'm
was like,
just
wait a minute,
saying.
because
I know I felt it. Like, hold on. I'm not calling you out. I'm not being passive aggressive. I'm just saying. I know, especially like in the queer community, there is that very, very, and like the black community too. There is
oh
that
yeah.
very fine line between I'm just a really honest and blunt person. Like, you're a cunt.
Mhm. Mhm.
You are not any of those things. You are a rude person. The queer, oh my god, the queer community is full
Excuse
of
me.
it. Don't die, please.
Sorry,
Please don't die. Not like this.
my allergies have been so bad. I had to use excuse me,
Hmm.
Flonase before I sat down.
Oh my gosh. It's gonna be
Okay. Oh
okay.
my gosh.
But yeah, that's always my favorite part of the queer community is it's like I just tell it how it is. I'm just
Mhm.
reading you. Like, no, you insulted me.
Yeah,
Like
I think there's a
there's
difference
a
between.
huge difference between.
Mhm.
But
Yeah. Also, I
yeah,
will say, like,
go ahead.
if it's like, if a person's keeping it real is like telling someone else about themselves, that's rude. Like when I
Right.
say honesty, I mean like I'm going to be honest about myself and my
Yes.
feelings and like what I want or need, and to
Yes.
communicate that so that
Yes.
people, like that. I don't mean like, ooh, girl, that
Well, and again, like that
like
was not targeted in your direction.
just like I wish somebody would be like,
I told you my one
actually, an
friend who agreed.
honest.
I told you my one friend who agreed with me too hard about me having gained weight.
I would have been like, yeah, you can
He was
go.
big too. That was the problem. My mom tried to do that once. Like my mom was morbidly obese, like up into her death. And there was one time I think like I was coming home from college, and she was like, "You like you've gained a little bit of weight," and I just like, you know how like pigeons stare at you.
No, I usually don't make eye contact with pigeons.
Okay, so
They're
Amanda's
scary.
insane. I just stared at her the way like birds stare at people, just like head tilted, just like, "Can I help you?" My mom, like 300-400 pounds, it's like, "You've gained some weight." It's like, just
I mean, to be, it could have just been like, maybe she was worried. I don't know. Because I'm looking at it from like a mom's perspective.
the
Like,
same mom who gave me up at 13 so she could date a crack dealer.
I mean, listen. You're talking. I understand this. The mom. Listen, I understand.
Mom card was revoked a
So,
few years ago.
but I'm just saying that in their minds,
In
no
their
matter
minds,
what
it's still there.
happens,
In their minds,
like
the card is still there.
literally, it doesn't matter. Like it does not matter. Like they can abuse the hell out of you, and still, in their minds, they still
Like, eat
think
your
like, why
broccoli.
aren't you here? Like, why aren't you visiting me?
Oh
I
my
saw
gosh.
someone tweet about that, and I was
Oh
like
my god,
triggered
my mother did that all the
because
time.
it's
My
the
aunts do that
truth.
now too, where like they were really emotionally abusive, and they're like, "Why didn't you come see us?" Like, because I fucking hate you. Y'all are mean. Anyways, we're wrapping up my birth month. We did an episode on DubCon and NonCon, which was very exciting. Thank you guys for your insightful comments. The comments have been wonderfully respectful, which I greatly appreciate. I know this is a sensitive, tricky topic, so here's your trigger warning, your one and only, even though we unapologetically talked about emotional abuse, gaslighting, and such for 12 minutes before I gave you a trigger warning.
Yeah, well,
y'all know what to expect by now. It's like 50% therapy, like 12% boys love, and the rest is just us being shady.
I mean, I don't know if I'm shady. Is it shade if it's the truth?
Okay, Aisha abeds me being shady. No disagreement. Aisha aids and abets me being shady.
I mean, I just sit here and eat my food.
Another very Torian thing. Just letting the I just looked at the computer like a pigeon. Exactly.
I don't like this talk about pigeons.
Why do you not like birds? What did they do to you? Oh, I'm not supposed to
They
ask
exist.
that.
They exist.
I remember from our previous conversation, I'm not supposed to ask about that. But they're, yeah, okay. They do have weird eyes. I'm acknowledging that. They do have weird eyes. Why don't our people
Sensible
don't like the
people.
water and birds? Oh yeah, it is from that trauma of us being eaten by birds as apes. That's probably it.
I mean, that sentence, I mean, I know.
What?
The optics.
What? Why don't our people like birds?
With our Negro asses sitting up here, you talk about when we were, girl.
No,
you're gonna get us canceled.
I meant like literal time. We were all apes in Africa. We were all Australopithecines. You are not going to pervert science into a race thing. I will not let you.
I'm just saying, you said you went from our people to we, and I was like, wait, who's we?
I will not let you pervert science into a horrible race analogy.
Who's we?
Thank you. Evolution. We were all apes in Africa.
I wasn't disputing that. I was just wondering about the
object
trajectory.
Of that was yes, I apologize. I will not let you take this from me. I was talking about science. And science has no
You
issues with
could
racism unless
you
your
could
doctor's white, and then it does.
exactly. But no, I was just like, ooh, that sentence.
That sentence was sus. I agree. Okay, I apologize. That was one sus sentence. I acknowledge.
Yes, it's okay.
I did make cookies yesterday.
What kind of cookies?
They were butterscotch and they had a white miso frosting. Yeah. You mean most doctors? I do. There are not enough black doctors. Yes. Are you still pondering over the combination? Aisha, use words. Yes.
I just don't understand. I'm trying to, from what I know of miso
Yes.
and what I know of butterscotch
Yes.
and cookies, I just
Yes.
those two things don't in my
So the miso went into a frosting.
okay, but so it's sweet. So sweet miso, sweet like
salted caramel, honestly.
okay, so it's a little okay, so you don't actually taste the it's just the salty sweet.
You get like a funk and a salt. So like just like a really, really good or like a complex salted caramel. And I like butterscotch because there's only one slight difference between caramel and butterscotch, but I think the difference makes all the difference. And do you know what the difference is?
What the type of sugar used or something?
Yeah.
Oh. I mean, actually, my mother was a cake decorator. She had a bakery for like a lot of my childhood. But anyway.
Yeah, butterscotch is made with brown sugar, so it still has a lot of that natural molasses flavor, while caramel is made with white sugar and it has a lot of that natural molasses removed. So that sort of almost bitter, roasty, toasty flavor in butterscotch.
Like my favorite.
Like a Werther's.
Werther's.
Yes. But like with that really like complex, salty of white miso. It was really good. The frosting was a smidge on the salty end. Like it was right on that verge of like for most people too salty. But my friend really likes salty sweet, and so do I. So it's like it's right on that verge. Probably would be too salty for like anyone else. But like for us, it's like But I like stuff like that.
Yeah, when you describe it like that, it sounds much more delicious than
I didn't like just like throw miso soup into like a batch of
I was like
no, that's not what happened. I folded white miso paste into a buttercream.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I didn't just like glob in like I didn't like ladle in miso soup into my cookie batter. That's not what happened.
I was like, what is
also
my thought was like the miso like the soup powder.
and I was like, I took the packets from ramen. I'm just sprinkling it on.
Yeah,
no, that sounds terrible.
That's because they do make like dry like miso soup in like little packets. It's so freaking like
so
clutch
convenient.
in a just have some rice. Ooh, actually, I need to go to the grocery store.
Like just so convenient. I love it. But
a lot of sodium though, so that's
you can get low sodium miso.
I mean, yes, but not where I live. not in this town.
Not in this town with its 5 Asians that banded together to make the one Asian market.
I mean, honestly, we don't have an Asian market here. The closest one is like 30 minutes away.
Jesus Christ.
And well, there's like three or four of them. But I don't want to drive 30 minutes to just to go to the store.
My closest Japanese market's like less than 5 minutes away. It's up the street.
Yeah. See, y'all, that's what I don't want to hear nobody talk about. Aisha, why don't you do this or this? Because I don't live in an area where that can be done. So.
Oh my god. But if you have any questions, comments, concerns about our episode on dubcon and non-con, feel free to let us know. We're also going to be talking about Lies or Dilemmas Manners.
We are.
So we can do that first, or you guys can ask questions first, whichever is up to Aisha and I. What are you feeling? Do you want to do question answer first, or do you want to talk about the manga first?
We could talk about the manga and let people ask their let the questions come in if they have them.
Yeah, that's fine to me.
And then, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Lies or Gentleman's Manners. Switched from Maiden Rose because I was gonna make Aisha finally read Maiden Rose, and I was like, you know what, that might be
Mm.
a little bit too triggering. So Lies or Gentleman's Manners, another manga that I think is like formative and should be like Criterion level, honestly. At least of like the new wave of BL. Uh, Thoughts?
Okay. So I'm going, at first,
Okay.
I was like, Amanda said that I might like this.
Mm-hmm.
What am I missing? Like in the very beginning, I was like, I don't think I understand because the way it starts out, it's
Mm-hmm.
the student teacher
Mm-hmm.
thing, and it's
Mm-hmm.
very blatant. Like this teacher is like using this, or it
Mm-hmm.
seems like at first it's like, yeah, he's
Mm-hmm.
using his power over the
Mm-hmm.
student. I'm like, I get people who like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't. And so I was like, what is happening here? How is this gonna turn out?
Mm-hmm.
As I continued reading,
Mm-hmm.
I I found it a lot easier to just kind of step away. Kind of like I started reading it like I read the Cornered Mouse,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, that series, how it's
Mm-hmm.
super just these two awful people doing awful things. And so I
Yes,
feel like Liza, like they're both shitty people.
they
They
are.
are absolutely terrible
They
people.
are.
And once I like just kind of settled into that and I was like, God, these are awful motherfuckers. I was like, actually, this is fun.
Yeah.
So once I got like that
Okay.
into it and I realized like, okay, this is the point. Like the point is
Yes.
this because at
Yes.
first I was being thrown into this and I was like, wait a minute, I like mess, but this feels.
This is a house fire. This is the
I
mess.
was like, I don't know what's happening. And then
Right.
as I kept going, I was like, oh no, ooh, they're both trash. I like this.
See, that's what I
So
was hoping that you would get to because, like,
yeah.
yes, it is messy and dramatic. I don't quite have as
Mhm.
visceral of a reaction to
Mhm.
both men being trash. I know one is Dr. Haskins. I think the other one's name is Matt. I don't remember honestly. Uh,
I don't remember their names
it's okay.
either.
It's honestly, it has been a hot minute. I read it like earlier this morning, and then somewhere in
Mhm.
between the day, I fell asleep. So I don't
It
remember.
happens.
It does, but I know Dr. Haskins because I love him.
I think he's trash, but
I
like
didn't say he was a good person. I said I like him. Nowhere in that sentence did I advocate for him being a good human being. I said I
I
like him.
like him with his I will say I liked him with his family. I
Yeah.
think like they're so I low key feel like his wife knows. Um it she gives me very much like she knows she's a beard vibe or not even a beard. I think that I'm not going to say that he's bisexual, but I do think that he
Mhm.
loves her
Mhm.
and and actually enjoy. I mean, he even says he likes having a child. So
Yeah.
I think that he's gay but grew to love her
Mhm.
despite having to be. I mean, he had to be with her for marriage reasons or whatever.
Mhm.
And so I was like, okay, you know what? That's an arrangement. But I'm also so for me, I was like, okay.
See, and I never read it that way. I always read it as she's super oblivious. And
Oh.
like I do agree that I think he has some love for her. I don't
Mhm.
necessarily ascribe a sexuality to him outside of fuckboy. Like I don't really ascribe a
Hmm.
sexuality to him outside of like
Interesting.
he will because one of the big things that he always comments on is like his wife is away. Like even when they were like dating, engaged, like she was always
Mhm.
away a lot doing
Mhm.
research and working. So I never really noticed his like pattern for men as being like a gay thing or a
Mm.
bisexual thing as much of it's just yeah, you'll do. Like in a tension sort of tool kind of thing, I guess.
It could be that. I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean that's
I
the
know,
cool thing
yeah.
about talking about books like this is having
Mhm.
different interpretations of it. Um that always made me feel super bad for his wife because yeah, like I always read her as like just not knowing and being like, wow, my
Mhm.
husband is so great. Just like he puts up with so much. And it's like,
Mhm.
if only you knew.
Yeah.
You sweet summer
Yeah.
child.
Right. I mean, and that is a very, like, understandable way to look at it because that's typically what we're shown in
Right.
stories like that.
Right.
But I guess from my perspective, like, I don't know, she gave me these I know what's going on
Hmm.
vibes, and I'm good with it. Like she's
Yeah,
he because I mean it looks like they're well to do,
they
like they
are.
have money,
Yeah.
and she's got her daughter and she gets to go do the thing that she loved. Like maybe I'm self-inserting a little bit. I mean, not for real, because that's not my life, but like I can imagine myself in that situation and being fine. I'd be like,
Right.
yeah, okay, go on.
Well, and again, like
Have
I think that's
fun.
why I like talking about these things with you because yeah, like that's a read that I never got. So
Mm.
like I would never have even thought about that read to this work, and I've read that a million times.
Yeah, and I mean, she seemed really happy. Like, she seemed genuinely happy.
Hmm.
The daughter seemed to, like, really love both of
Right.
her parents. She was well-adjusted, and usually kids that are happy like that have happy parents who love each
Right.
other, and
Exactly. Like,
so I was like, "Yeah, they're happy," and she's probably got herself a
I mean, I
little
hope so. Yeah.
friend, or maybe she doesn't want to. She seems
Yeah.
to really be happy with those
With this.
monkeys or whatever,
Yeah. It's so
gallivanting.
it's so weird because yeah, like for such a garbage human being, like Dr. Haskins is also like just a really chill family guy. Like for
Mhm,
being such a trash person, like he's for everything that we see, he's a good dad and a okay
mhm.
husband.
That's why I
Like
think she knows.
I mean, yeah,
I mean,
probably.
because it's like, because the thing is like, and maybe I'm just naive and too trusting, but I really, in general, at least from my experience, most people, honestly, most people are not like cheating to be these like terrible, awful, like, that doesn't, that's not the most common thing. That's what we are told. And so I just don't see him as like a terrible person. And I feel like
But
she
then
probably
also,
knows.
let's say, but that also doesn't
Like,
mean that he has to be a terrible person to cheat. Like I said, like
yeah, that's a,
for me,
yeah.
it always read as like just something that genuinely started out of desperation. Like his lover is
Mm.
gone a lot. Like that's not an
Yeah, maybe.
excuse. Like that doesn't make it okay. But like she is physically just not there frequently.
Yeah.
So things happen, and like I don't again like I don't think that's a write off. Like I don't think that makes it okay. But
Mm.
I always read it as almost like a necessary evil. Like because look at the people that he's known to have affairs with, like Danny the stable boy. Like that's something that that's someone he would have seen a lot and frequently
Mhm.
because he plays polo, which is
Mhm.
an amazing scene. Uh,
It was, I mean, as far as, like, the dialogue or the actual scene, because like, I'm gonna be honest, like, the actual, like, like, the sex scenes in this didn't really, like, they were beautifully drawn, but I didn't really, normally, I read things like this
uh huh.
with my horny goggles on,
Hmm.
but the horny goggles were not triggered in this,
No,
like,
and I far from mean the sex way. The moment that I'm thinking of especially is when Dr. Haskins like pulls Danny's hand down because he's trying to like signal to one of the girlfriends. Like
uh
that such he's such a garbage person in that moment, but like I've never loved him more. Like it's just little complex things like that that's like, you are such a trash man. You are
See, that's
such
where I thought he was a shitty per like, I guess with his wife, I'm just like, "Yeah, she probably knows," but with the way he treated, like, the fact that
yeah.
the scene where, the not the stable boy, but the other guy, the
Hmm.
friend or whatever, like, whenever they
Hmm.
were behind the gazebo or something like
Hmm.
that, and the fiancé or the wife was about to catch them,
Hmm.
and what's his face was back there just banging away,
Yeah.
and I was
That's
like,
still Danny. That's still the stable boy.
okay. Oh,
Yeah.
was he the
Yes.
stable boy?
Yes.
Oh, well, dang. Anyway,
Yes.
in any case, I was like,
It's okay.
wow,
Right.
you
Like
are
again,
terrible.
I don't think he's a good person. I don't have enough signs for that. I do not think he's a good human being.
Well, actually, okay.
Sure.
I think I've said this before. I am trying to step away from just being very black and white, like good person, bad person, because we are just people who all can do.
Okay, he's also a
But
drawing.
he's done he's done terrible things.
No, Aisha, no, he's a drawing. He's not
I
real.
understand he's okay. If you say that to me one more time, because I know this, I am not. I'm just clarifying for people who are listening
Yes.
that for me, I like to step away from saying good or bad, because we talked about how seems to be a great dad and husband,
Yes.
you know, and so although he is a fictional character, also in real life we see people who in one aspect can be amazing, in another aspect you're like, holy shit, like you can do that, like, and the thing is we all have that capacity. And I just wanted to mention it. And we are talking about lies. Wait, lies
are a gentleman's manners.
Yes, lies are a gentleman's. Actually, I will put it.
Okay, from your perspective, I understand what you're saying, and I'm not trying to invalidate you.
No, you're fine. I'm okay. I think I'm not upset about it.
I didn't think you were.
Okay, just it's okay.
But yeah, I happen to really like this series. I think the anatomy is really, really well done.
Yes, the art is.
Again, I'm kind of surprised that you were so like viscerally turned off at first, because I guess also like in my span, like neither of those characters are great, but like in comparison to what I'm used to reading, these are pretty low level offenses. But again, like for me, what kept it really, really interesting was that it wasn't the usual power struggle that you would get with a student versus a professor. Like, that student has just as much on Dr. Haskins and the other way around. Like, all it takes is him like going to his wife and being like, your husband fucked me raw on his desk. Like, that's and like he can ruin this man's life. Like, I think I recommended that in part because I know one of the big things that you don't like about that relationship is the power imbalance.
Right. Which is like all that you said, like that is revealed as you move on. But like in the first couple of pages, it's like made to, because it's what's like the teacher is essentially, I guess he had devised some plan to get this student alone to do stuff. And so he was like pretending that he was going to get in trouble or something like that. And so he was jokingly using his power. And the other guy was like kind of actually scared. And then later on they get together and he's like, he gets him back and is like, don't ever do that again. So I was just like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay, at this point, I'm like, okay, I see it. It's like a tit for tat. But at first I was like, this is creepy.
Jonathan, that's the student's name. I keep forgetting it's Jonathan. Jonathan, like, he gets back pretty fast, though. Like, that's the thing. It is not a long lag.
It's like in the second chapter.
Not even. We get it in the first after they're done fucking, when he does the little joke with the box saying, congratulations, you have AIDS.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that. I actually, okay, I will be completely honest. I did not like, I blocked that out. I did not like that for reasons.
Well,
yeah, I didn't like that at all.
Yeah,
like,
I'm not saying it's a good joke. I'm just saying it's a joke. I'm not acknowledging that it's a good one. It's there.
I forgot about that. I literally read it today and I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, that didn't red flag me very much because I am a goblin who lives on the internet and I have heard much worse on a daily basis. That does not make it okay. Right. I'm not going to fault anyone who is more offended by that joke than I was. I didn't think it was like laugh out loud funny, but it definitely didn't like hurt me, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's, you know, I know people, so was like, oh,
same, but like, again, just it didn't flag for me the way it might flag for others. So that was negligence on my part. But like,
oh no, you're fine. I was just like, oh, well, that's not funny.
But like, Jonathan gets back pretty fucking fast. Like, it's that's one of the things that I think makes it palatable, because I get where you're coming from with like that power imbalance thing. Because yeah, I don't
Mhm.
really like that either. One, I did like that at least Jonathan is in college, so he
Mhm.
pretty much knows he's consenting. He's very, very rarely in situations where he's not in control.
Mhm.
He's making active decisions, because if anything, it's actually him who agrees to sleep with his professor to
Mhm.
maintain his grades. It is
Right.
not Dr. Haskins who makes the first move, it's Jonathan. Dr. Haskins then thinks he has an upper hand, saying, I can keep this a secret.
Mhm.
Jonathan then reveals cards, to which Dr. Haskins has cards. It's like chess or Yu-Gi-Oh, but for passive aggressive people. Like,
Yeah.
you're right. It is a very convoluted, like tit for tat. These are both garbage men.
Mhm. I also think,
Yes.
as much as because I did appreciate the mess, I think an issue that I've said this before, I don't like passive aggression. I don't like passive aggression. It's and so the whole time I was like, wow, this is fun it's like fun to read in a way, but
Sure.
also I was like, just
Well, yeah, you would never want to meet either of these men. Yeah, you would never want. I would as much as I love Dr. Haskins, as much as I love
I
Jonathan,
was
I
like,
would never
oh
want to meet
no,
either of these men.
never.
They're both infuriating. Um,
Oh,
but I like that they frame it from the stance of being gentlemen, or of a gentleman's nature, because that's a lot of high society, especially
mm,
like that waspy upper middle class rich New England person
mm,
who's the center of this manga.
mhm.
That's what it is.
Yeah, that's something interesting too because I I don't know. That was kind of one thing that like I didn't love about it was the setting just because the wasps like I'm just like, man, this is more rich white people doing rich white people things.
But that
And
was
it's just like,
the point.
yeah, but it's just like, oops, sorry, I'm dropping my right. That's the point, and that's what I'm saying. Like, oh, I mean, it's just not for like when I say I don't like it, it's just not for me. Like, I don't think I would have. I don't think I would have picked this out myself.
No, I can promise you wouldn't
Yeah.
have. No, absolutely not. I don't think you would have at all.
But I enjoy like it was fun to read. I don't know if I would read something in a similar setting. Does she does the I don't know, the mangaka, I don't
Matsumatsuo?
I could
Um,
have like misgendered them just now. So
no, Marta Matsuo
okay.
is female. Uh,
Okay.
she has worked on other things. Nothing really has hit the
Mhm.
US. There is actually supposed to be like a second volume or sequel to Lies or Gentlemen's Manners
Uh-huh.
that like we might get, but we don't know. This
Uh,
one's done really middling success in America. It's sort of like
okay.
how Twittering Birds was at first before Sentai got the movie.
Mhm.
That it was really like middling. Like it had a fan base, but it
Yeah.
was, not that big. I don't know what it would take for Liza Gentleman's Manners to take off. I think at this stage it's too old.
Mm.
But yeah, like it
Well,
definitely has American readers,
yeah.
but there's just not enough to take the risk, frankly, to bring
Mhm.
over any more of her work. Which I mean, I guess like hearing you talk, I can
Mhm.
see more of the flaws in it. I mean, flaws, because I don't
Yeah, I was
necessarily.
gonna say I don't know if I'd call them flaws, but just like I guess things that other people may not, you
Right,
know.
because that's the problem with hanging out in circles oftentimes, is like
Mhm.
you hang out in a circle that thinks similarly to the way you do, and like none of
Mhm.
my friends who've read it talk about it the way that you do.
Mhm.
Which I don't necessarily think is negative. I think it's interesting.
Mhm.
So because of that, yeah, I can kind of see, well, okay, so maybe in a place where I think that this is a feature, some may see it as a flaw. Um,
Mm.
where I thought that like stuff like this was a feature or a bonus, like to other
Mhm.
people it might be
Yeah.
off-putting or
Well, and
unnecessary.
it you kind of from what I gather, like you that's like a setting that very is very interesting to you. Like even with the horse riding and stuff like that, it seems like that's kind
It's
of
not that
a
it's interesting to me, it's what I
mm,
grew up with. Like, I'm not a
mhm.
wasp, but I'm a debutante. So
Mhm.
I'm the southern version of that.
Mhm.
So it's not necessarily that like I'm interested in this world. It's I have the chocolate dipped version of that world. It's
Mhm.
historically black colleges and universities. It's AKA
Mm.
it's not necessarily polo, but it's debutante and other things. Like
Mhm.
I live in the black version of that world. So
Yeah.
it wasn't so far of a leap for me
Mhm. Mhm.
to get there. So no, I no, I don't like waspy men. They're annoying and they usually try to call me a slur when we're fucking. I'm not crazy about waspy men, but that's I live in the brown version of that.
Mhm.
Or like I grew up in the brown version of that. So like
Mhm.
that was not a mirror that I wasn't used to or accustomed to or
Interesting.
unaccustomed to. Like it was like, okay, yeah, I know these guys.
Yeah.
Like I it might not be Harvard, but it's Dillard or Tuskegee University.
Mhm.
Like I know these people.
Yeah.
I know the black version of these people.
Right. Mm, yeah. In- interesting.
So yeah, well I'm glad you didn't hate it at least.
No, it wasn't. I mean, I ended up being pleasantly surprised because, like I said in the beginning, I was like, "What is happening?" And then
Mhm,
by then, I was like, "Okay, I get it. I get the point of it." And I would actually read a second volume
mhm.
just because I'd kind of be curious. Like the way it ended, I was like, "Hmm." I would be. I'm a little curious as to like
Mhm.
what would happen with them. But if it were longer than, like, a few volumes, I don't know that I would
Well,
I
I
don't
don't
know that I
think
would keep
it's
reading
I
it.
also just don't think it's sustainable for much longer.
Yeah.
Like to be totally honest, I also just don't think it's sustainable. Like it's I almost I do appreciate if this is all we get, the brevity of this. Because it is such a weird dynamic and such a
Mhm.
almost like hot flame that yeah, like this is not something that's going to last. This is not going to be a situation where like both of them stop being toxic and they get married or whatever, like Dr. Haskins leaves his wife or whatever. Like this is meant to be a fleeting, dumb kind of thing where
Mhm.
mistakes are made and the stakes are very high.
Mhm.
So yeah, I just don't think it has the potential to be
Yeah.
a long series like that. It is meant to feel like this short, brief, impulsive flare that
Mhm.
sort of fizzles out and eventually Jonathan will mature or get bored and stop doing this. And eventually, Dr. Haskins will either stop being a fuckboy with this boy particularly, or his wife will find out or admits
Mhm.
that she knew. And he'll either end up divorced or very, very in a doghouse somewhere.
I mean, or they could be a happy poly family or something. I mean, to each their own.
That's you projecting.
No.
That does not happen in WASP society. Um,
I mean, I have no way of I did not grow up, in any of those circles, and I don't hang out in them even now. I I grew up too country to hang out with a like, yeah. I'm country.
you have your moments, which I think is fascinating. You have your moments of being like really, really country, and then you have like your flex moments, and it's like, okay,
I mean, but I don't even the thing is that it's not even really a flex because it's like we
yeah.
live in Oklahoma and we struggled for a long, long time.
Well,
For a long
that's also why I
time.
call them moments. Like they're not like a character
It's
flaw.
like
It's
I
just like
mean,
it's a trait. But yeah. So that was Liza Gentleman's Manners.
mhm,
Again,
mhm.
my big thing is I'm glad Aisha did not hate it.
No, not at
Um,
all. Like I think I enjoyed this way more than you enjoyed Puppy Play.
that's
So
not a high bar.
I mean, but
That's
it's
not a
there.
that's not a high bar at all. So I'm gonna take that as a positive. Uh,
Yeah, definitely
and
a positive.
and
I
yeah,
think Puppy Play is funny, so I don't hate it like you do.
I think if I had that ability to turn off my brain, I probably would be in a similar camp. But I'm like
I mean,
physically incapable. So it's just pain. It's just pain and noise.
I mean, fair
Like
enough.
like I I'm physically incapable of turning off my brain.
I mean, I think most of us are, but you know,
No,
if we turn off our brains, we would not be.
no, I mean like specifically for media. Oh,
I know.
jokes.
I
Sorry.
was.
Oh, see, oof. Like whoosh. But like, yeah, I'm just physically incapable of doing that.
Mm,
So well, no, there are a lot of very dumb things that I like, and
hmm
I can acknowledge that they're dumb, but they have to shoot for the moon so fucking far. Like you have to beat me into suspension
mm,
of disbelief. Like if you're gonna half-ass it, I can't do it. That's usually the problem. Is if you try to
interesting.
make me half-ass that suspension of disbelief, no. You have to
hmm
beat me into suspension of disbelief because I'm thinking of the dumb things that I like. Like I love like Kingsman: The Secret Service, that Matthew Vaughn movie where it's like British super spies and like
Mm,
kung fu action. Love that movie. Can talk about that movie for like 3 hours. Dumb fucking movie.
I've never
Objectively
seen
dumb
it.
movie. I don't know if you'd like it.
Probably not. I honestly don't like a lot of
I know.
movies,
Well, and
so
that's why I said that. I'm like, I don't think you'd like it.
I'm just
That
like,
was not shade at all. Just from what I know, do not think you'd like
like
it.
yeah, probably
Um,
probably not.
Dumb as rocks movie. It's my trash, but it has its own mythology and its own world
Uh,
that you don't have time to ask questions. Django Unchained also comes to mind.
mhm,
Like any Tarantino,
mhm,
he beats you so hard into suspension of disbelief. It doesn't fucking
mm,
matter. It doesn't matter. It's like, yes, like Django Unchained, the more I watch it, yes, I have some questions.
mm.
Do I care during the runtime of that movie? No.
I mean, one of my favorite movies is Jurassic Park. I have no problem with suspension of disbelief. I legit for years as a child imagined that one day I was going to find Jurassic Park. Like it was going to happen in my lifetime. Low key, I'm still there's a part of me that hopes that I will live long enough to see dinosaurs
See, and that's where my suspension
recreated.
of disbelief kicks in because I'm that person who's like, this sounds like a terrible idea.
I
And
love
I
it.
love
I
paleontology. I
love
love
it.
dinosaurs. I wanted to be a paleontologist when I was a kid. I've always loved dinosaurs. There's a picture of me on Facebook where I am posing in front of a terror bird, which is one of my favorite prehistoric megafauna. I went to the Houston Museum of Natural Science for my birthday one year, and
Mhm,
I got very, very excited about fossils. Like, turned it like this is like my 20 somethingth birthday, like
mhm.
mid to late 20 something birthday. And I'm
Okay.
like, like I'm like screeching over fossils. They had a glyptodont. They had a Terminator pig. They had a Quetzalcoatlus. And I mean, at this point, I'm speaking gibberish, but it's like, I was so stoked. But I look
Mm.
at Jurassic Park and I'm like, this is a terrible idea.
I love it. It's still to
No.
this day. I One of my favorite memories is when Fox was like in kindergarten
Hmm.
or first grade, something like that, and he had I took him out of school early
Hmm.
because they were having a matinee for the original um, Jurassic Park in the theater, and so we
Hmm.
went, and he was so little, and we went. It was just me and him in the whole theater, and we watched it and it was amazing and he was just like, "Whoa, it's so cool." We had a little bro bonding moment. So good. I fucking love Jurassic Park.
There was one time I was watching a documentary in the living room, and this is when I was still living at home and watching my grandmother. And by this time she was, declining from dementia and everything like that, but she still had more lucid days than not at this point. So she, wheels into the living room and sits down beside me because we basically had like a TV in every room. Like not even like a flex, just like we're all fucking weird. Like my aunt had one in her room, I had one in my room, we had one in the living room, my
Mm,
grandma had one in her room. Like this isn't even a flex, it's just we're all fucking weird. And it was nice to be able to like go to a place and not watch whatever someone
mm,
else was watching. So I was in the living room watching a dinosaur documentary, and my grandma rolls in. She's like, "This is so cool," and I'm like, "Yeah," and she's like, "It looks really dangerous." I'm like, "Yeah, back then it was really dangerous." She's like, "I just don't understand how they did it." I'm like, "What?" She's like, "How they got someone to take all the pictures of those dinosaurs."
That is so cute.
And yeah, I was like, oh, grandma. Because it's one of those like
That is so
3D,
cute.
those like
That's
3D
gonna be
animated ones.
me. That's
And
gonna
I
be
was just
me as a
like,
grandma.
and I was just like, oh my god. And I'm like, grandma, it's okay. Like it's just anime. She's like, oh. But she was like really worried about like some fucking like cameraman out there trying to like film a sauropod. And I'm like,
I love like I love that youthful, just like like I love that energy
I
because,
mean, I think if she didn't have dementia, I would love it.
well, okay, silver linings because dementia sucks,
Yeah.
but at
No,
that
that's what I'm
moment at
saying.
least,
Like I
it
think
was
like if it
cute.
was I think if it was just like general old people regressing kind of thing, yeah. Cause like they do that. Like when you do get older, like you do become a child. She absolutely even sans dementia turned into a child.
I mean, I never stopped
I mean, same.
being one,
Like
so
got very possessive over like Werther's candy and golden Oreos.
listen, because Werther's are so fucking good. You
Gra-
can tell that I grew up in like
grandma would
around
cut
black
a bitch.
folks.
Grandma would cut a bitch if you denied her lightly salted potato chips, sweet tea, golden Oreos, or a Werther's caramel.
I can
Those were
do
those were
without
like
the.
the four things. My grandmother would fucking cut you over any of those things. She would buy boxes of Lucky Charms and just eat the marshmallows out of them.
I knew you were gonna say that
Yeah,
because that's the
just
only thing worth eating in those.
yeah. But like when I tell you, like, because she was in like an independent living scenario and we had to move her out of that because she fell too many times. Uh, when we cleaned out her little like independent living house, it was just bottles of Ensure. It's just the cereal
Oh,
part. And she could cook. She knew how to do all that. She just didn't.
I mean, mood.
Right, like she was on her own. She was independent. She was still driving at this point. Like this was her like at her like old person peak. She had all the skills. She chose to use none of them. Which mood
That's
and same. Because I'm in a very similar boat right now. I'm southern as shit. I barely cook for myself. It's a lot of like egg and rice. It's a lot of like
mm,
it's a lot of like very simple meals because no one teaches you how to be southern and black for one person. There is no fried catfish dinner for one person. I'm not.
I mean,
There's no shrimp boil for one person.
well, for me, yes,
Yeah, there can be.
because I love. Actually, not even sure. I would say like give
I
me a
don't. I
crawfish
do not like
boil.
crawfish. It's too much effort. I don't like that they're looking at me.
I oh my gosh, I want some. I also want some
The
crab legs. Anyway.
I do miss crab. When I was working in the funeral industry, our company would always have a crawfish boil like that. So it's
Mm.
just a bunch of like Cajun funeral directors would come to Texas and we'd boil crawfish in the parking lot. It was great.
It sounds so good.
Yeah, I mean, you
And
want
the
to get a bunch of
corn
yeah, you want to get a bunch of
and the
Cajun funeral
potatoes.
directors together. Cajun funeral directors are hilarious, especially the one that I had to correct with census data. So, okay, do you want to hear like peak petty Amanda? So, I used to work in the death care industry, and it was me, my graphic designer, and my account executive. Uh, I'm the social media person. Account executive is like the ferret between funeral homes and us, who are like a
Mm.
marketing agency. Graphic designer makes the art. So one of the funeral homes in Louisiana, which I will not name, said, "Hey, we want something for Veterans Day. We want like a graphic to go in the paper for Veterans Day." Graphic designer's like, "Cool, I got you." Has like some pre-selected stock art and everything like that, uh, and sends them out like a proof, like, "Hey,
Mhm.
this is what we did. What do you think about it?" Funeral home sends it back and is like, "We like it, but can we make the military officer white?" The original stock image had the officer being black.
Mhm.
And we're like, "Como se dice?" Like, what do you mean make him white? And the funeral director was like, "We just don't have any black people here." And we're like, "You're in Louisiana. What do you mean you don't have black people here?" And he's like, yeah, we just don't serve any black families. Can you make the guy white? To which we all get around my laptop and we pull up census data for the city he lives in. That turns out to be like 72% black.
So what he meant was we don't want
Serve.
black
Yeah,
clients.
right. What he meant to say was we don't work with black families
Yeah.
because we have shown in the preceding years that we don't work with black families. But he had the audacity to say that a funeral home in Louisiana, there just aren't black people here.
I mean, maybe he's colorblind and can't see brown.
Maybe there's just some angry shadows in the back. I don't know. All he sees is teeth and bad attitude. I don't know what's happening. But he had the audacity. We just don't have any black people around here.
That sounds stressful.
Like, sir, you live in Louisiana.
Yeah.
What do you mean you have no black folk here? There's one right there. Like, there's one right there. What are you talking about? So we pulled up census data and we're like, you're wrong. And our boss still made us make the
Of course.
Because it's like, stop fucking fighting with funeral directors. It's like, no.
Well, also because they want that money. Like,
well, no, they were still going to pay for our time regardless.
Oh, okay.
Like, if anything, we charged them more for making us do a stupid revision.
Mm.
There was nothing wrong with that ad. That ad was fine. So if anything, we charged them more because now we have to do a revision. So we got our money. It doesn't matter. But like, we're being a stupid hoe. Because he could have just said, sure. It wasn't even a color ad. It would just be a brownish person. It'd just be a blackish person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it wouldn't be like a high def colored person in the ad. Like, it was a black and white ad.
Oh.
So like, it wouldn't have mattered. Like, it's just a person of color. You could supplant anything in that. Mm-hmm. But he didn't want a black man for his ad. Because, black people have never served in the military. Never. Of course not. Why would you have a stock image of that? So yeah, we pulled up census data and we're like, you're wrong. Like, objectively. Like, you're objectively wrong.
I mean, sometimes.
Because that's the level of petty I am. Like, we all sat around my laptop. It was like Criminal Minds. We're all around with the laptop and I'm just like typing feverish. Like, okay, we need the census data from these years to these years to collate screens. It's like,
that's so much work.
Pettiness has no limit of power. That is something I've learned. And it will be the death of me. I know it. Pettiness has no limit of power. In the moment, it was so worth it.
I mean, you know what? Do what makes you feel good. Like,
I felt great.
Yeah, if you felt good.
Because that's one thing that you guys probably have noticed about me. I don't deal well with like people who are objectively wrong. I'm willing to have debates all day long about things that are like gray area stuff. But like when you're objectively incorrect and you're still doubling down, I don't have a lot of patience for that. I guess like that was all of my years in debate. I love having conversations about things that you can have conversations about.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a lot of things that do not need to be conversations. So when you're objectively incorrect, like making the assertion that there are no black people in Louisiana, I'm going to show you that you're wrong.
It's so funny. People, as ridiculous as that man sounds, I really low-key believe there are some people who genuinely believe that. Because even here in Oklahoma, which there's a lot of black people in Oklahoma. I don't know why people think that there aren't, and not in this town, but in Oklahoma in general. Like everyone is like, it's so weird. It's just like, did y'all not like Oklahoma at one point was like a mostly black, like
Well, I
area,
knew
but
that it was. I thought everyone
well,
fled
Black
after.
and Native
Like
American.
so I knew that it was, and then I
Mhm.
assumed after the Tulsa thing, everyone just left.
No, they still they're all still there.
No,
Like,
I
well,
figured it
not
was like
those ones, but yeah, definitely generation.
I figured it was like Chernobyl. Like after the
No,
Tulsa thing, I
like
was like, "Fuck this shit, bye."
literally, my mother's family is from Tulsa. Like, I mean, it's just so yeah. There's a lot of Black people in Oklahoma, but like down here, when we moved down here, like people would be like, "Oh my God, where are you from?" And I'm like,
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. They're like, what? Like, really? There aren't any. Yes, there are Black people here. What the
Well, okay, so I
like?
get that in San Antonio. Like, there's
Well, but that
definitely,
kind of
huh?
makes sense because
Well,
San Antonio is
no, we're
very.
also an Air Force city.
Oh,
That's
okay.
it. We have a lot of Black folk
Yeah,
here. My
that's
grandfather was stationed here years ago. We have a
mhm,
lot of Black families here. There
right.
was a ton of Black generational wealth here on the east side. They got
Mhm.
gentrified out, of course, because white people are terrible. Sorry, that came out too fast. I've been watching Crash Course Black American History,
Mm.
and they just covered the Fugitive Slave Act. And I was just
Um,
like, I would like to no longer be a part of this country.
I mean, we're here.
And it's like, it's stuff that I always knew.
Mhm.
Like I knew about the fact that in our constitution that we're supposed to pledge allegiance to and everything, that there's a fugitive slave clause in our constitution. I knew that. But it's not until you read it and then hear about like George Washington hunting down one of his slaves that ran away because he's a petty motherfucker. George Washington, the man that we all credit with being such a good person
I
for
don't.
freeing his
I
not
don't. Not in this
you, not
house.
you
My
particularly.
kids, I'm like, look, this is. You see that white devil? I'm just kidding. I'm not. I'm not.
You would go full
You
Pocahontas.
see a picture of this white devil?
You, but the thing is, like, I was willing to run with that because I can see that for you.
I mean, between them being both Native and Black, I'm just like,
Yeah,
listen, we
right. Like,
don't.
but like, so I went to Mount Vernon when I was in Virginia, and I
Mm,
got to see Washington's house. And I had the best tour guide. It was me, my aunt Sandy. We had the best tour guide. I'm pretty sure her name was like Becky. She was an older white lady. And my aunt, we were both braced. It's like, this is going to be hell. It's going to be so bad. Because she's just going to be like, Washington was so great. And he said that he was going to free his slaves upon his death. That's a myth. He didn't do that. And Martha never freed the slaves. He also had the teeth of his slaves in his dentures.
I remember hearing about that. That
That's
was
confirmed.
because they tried to say, "Oh, this was wood."
It was not. It was hippopotamus and whalebone. No, it was Negro bone.
It's a sickness. It's
Right.
the rewriting of history.
But
It's a
so we're
sickness.
doing this tour, and our tour guide looks at us because of course we get to the slave quarters, and our tour
Mm.
guide looks at us and she's like, "I'm not going to tell you how bad it was for your people back then." And I was like, "Thank you, Becky."
No, I would have been like, "Nah." Actually, I want you to say, I want you to recite every little thing. No, you need to tell me. Tell me. Tell me what they did. I want you to look me right in the eye
I want you to tell me every
and
slave
tell
that died
me
on this land.
their names.
No, no, I was
Like that's how I would be. No, you
I,
gonna
res-
tell me
I
I
respect that
paid
for
for
you.
this? Was it wait, did you pay or was it free?
I did pay.
I paid for this, bitch, you're doing your job.
I respect that for you. My thing was I didn't need because my concern was that she was going to be the pandering type. I was
And
like,
then
well,
and then it would
Mr.
have been even more
Washington,
fun because then I could be like, actually,
because
actually.
what I didn't want was, well, Mr. Washington did, of course, have slaves. He was very kind to his. Because then, yeah, I would have had to like it'd be belligerent black woman removed from Mount Vernon.
I was like, no, sweetie, go
And
ahead. You can tell us.
just
Do your
video
job.
of me being pulled away like an angry cat, just like it was a dick. Just but she was very appreciative and kind. It's like, I'm not going to tell you guys how bad this was. Like, it was bad. And it's like, yeah, it was. Thank you. Like, thank you for acknowledging that. Like, would I have
Nah.
loved more acknowledgement? Sure. But like, what I didn't want is someone who like minimized it. Cause a lot of the old museum rhetoric was really
Mm.
minimizing. The new museum rhetoric for Mount Vernon, there's this beautiful dedication to all the slaves that were buried on that land.
Mm.
It was blessed by Black pastors. They tried to bring together as many of the bones as they could, which is not all of them because many of them were not buried properly.
Mm.
It's I've been saying this term a lot, but I think it really sums up how I feel about it. It was a festive gesture.
Mm.
Do you remember when they made Juneteenth a holiday that you had like Nancy Pelosi like wearing like a quinta cloth and everything? And
I wish
someone
I didn't remember that.
same. But someone tweeted, they sure do love a festive gesture, don't they?
So
And like
festive.
that's how I feel about it. It's like this is very nice. I'm glad that it took us hundreds of years to acknowledge that these were people and that they were treated poorly, which is a
Mm.
massive understatement. Saying that they were treated poorly is a massive understatement. Yeah, loud ass eye roll. That they were not treated fairly or well. Understatement. And that there are more steps that we could do to better honor their legacy. But also, it doesn't erase that you still did this. Like, thank you for your festive gesture of having these people, bless the remains. You still can't find all of the slaves because many of them were not buried properly. Knowing
Mm.
that that was important to most African religions and cultures, that if you cannot bury the body properly, that person is damned to that land. You knew that, and you still chose not to bury these people with dignity or respect. Like,
Well, I mean, they also knew that they were human beings and still chose to
no, Aisha, we
enslave
were
them.
3/5 of human beings.
So, well,
We were
again,
3/5. We were 3/5 of human
and
beings.
well, they recognized it in the beginning, and then they were like, you know what? It's for our own benefit. We better. That's why they did it, because they knew they were doing something wrong. So they're like, we got to find ways to justify this
They
shit.
didn't think that they were doing something wrong.
Yes, they did. They knew.
No, I would
They
say
knew.
it was probably later than you think, because a lot of, especially if you read old American texts about it, a lot of it was still like, we're civilizing, blah, blah, blah. Now, it very quickly turned. I am not writing a past to anyone. This is no one's past for like slavery's okay. No. But like a lot of the rhetoric at first was genuinely.
Yeah. See,
Like,
that's the thing that was like, and obviously, I don't know what they were really thinking, but my way of thinking goes, if I can understand that I don't want this imposed on me, or that I don't want to do this, then I know that it is wrong to do it to someone else. I just don't care. Like,
okay, but
that's
we
like,
also don't have the optics of being a majority anything. We will never know
true.
what that power feels like. Ever.
Yeah.
So, of course, it's hard for us to wrap our heads around it because we've never had that power.
Mm-hmm.
But for a lot of these people, like especially like me living in San Antonio, we're a mission city. When they talk about like what they did to the natives, well, we were just bringing them God. Like there's at one of the missions, there's still Franciscan brothers that live and work there. And I was raised Catholic. One of the brothers was like, "I'm so glad that I get to continue the mission my brother started." I was ready to fight. I was ready to fight. It's like, what are you talking about? These men were terrible. What they did to the Native Americans was awful. They genuinely did not see it that way. Some of them did. Some of them were awful and were sociopaths and were like, yeah, fuck it, burn everything to the ground. Most of them genuinely were just, we're bringing them Jesus. We're bringing them pants and Jesus. And whatever means we have to.
Pants are the worst invention
Next to the patriarchy.
ever. Like, pants are a killer of dreams.
Yeah, pants and the patriarchy. But like, they're really like, we brought these people out of their grass huts and we were giving them a chance. And it's like, no.
All they gave them was smallpox and
Right.
whatever other
Right, like it is
diseases.
terrifying. Like it's horrifying. But like, yeah, there are people that just have that much privilege that it's like, I can decide your personhood.
Yeah, that's
And that's horrifying because we can't imagine that.
No.
We can't because we've never been afforded that level of privilege. But it's also funny to think about that when you have stories about like missionaries who are not treated well by natives, and you hear like the white audience like, "Oh my god, that's terrible," and the black audience
Right.
like they deserved it.
Like honestly, let me not say anything too controversial.
Well, no, I
Okay.
had that in one of the servers I moderate for. There's a white woman, and she does a lot of missionary work, and she'll talk about it like she's just out there like saving souls, and
Yeah, and I'm like,
like, you are
what?
a cultural terrorist, like you
Fuck
are.
around and find out.
Okay, so Aisha's on the angry end of black. I'm on the like philosophical mad.
I mean, because I just really wish that people would just mind their business. Like I just can't I don't understand. I genuinely am having a hard time understanding some people, like so many people's need to like spread their like freaking tentacles into everyone.
Because they think they're helping.
It's like,
And
unless
they
I
think
ask you for help, leave like ah!
they think that they're helping. Like that's the worst part, is that they think that they're doing genuine
Awful.
good. And yeah, like it's terrible and bad, but like they think that they're helping.
Yeah.
We're helping you by erasing your culture.
Like I mean, I tend to joke about me having my head up my ass, but I don't think I do, because I would be like, at least stop and think. Okay, did they ask for this? Like, did they ask me for this?
Well, no, but it
No.
is in the Bible to go do this.
And that's wherein lies the problem. Is
Christianity. It's Christianity's fault.
reading fiction as though it's
Okay, we're not going to call the
reality.
Bible. We're not going to call the Bible fiction today. We've been angry black enough. We can't call the Bible fiction. Oh my god! I don't disagree with you, but we can't alienate our entire. We can't call the Bible fiction. Oh my god! Only parts of it are fiction. I've read that work of fiction many times.
I said what I said. And this is coming from, I was raised Southern Baptist, so don't.
I was raised Roman Catholic, and my dad went to an evangelical church that was like anti-science and anti-Harry Potter and anti-Pokemon.
Can't do it.
We had to say the
literature. Yeah.
Literature. Yeah, I agree. I say it's literature. Parts of it, like all the parts. Parts of it are fiction. When I was at that church, we had to say the Pledge of Allegiance to the Christian flag. There is a Pledge of Allegiance to the Christian flag.
Actually, you know what? I used to go to see you at the pole. It just made me think of see you at the pole. Because we did also, yeah, wow. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so we had to say the Pledge of Allegiance to the Christian flag every Sunday. We also had rapture drills where we practiced for the rapture.
You know what? I'm over here. Listen, let me not.
There is a Christian flag. It is white. It has a navy blue field and a red cross.
It does.
And there's a Pledge of Allegiance to it that we had to say. Rapture drills mostly involved getting under a chair, because the chair is going to protect you from the rapture.
Also, don't you want to be?
Well, no, like the concern is like the fire and the brimstone that happens.
See,
beforehand.
This is like, well, why y'all scared? Thought y'all was saved.
This is also a church that had an annual dove hunt.
Like,
they hunted God's messengers. They annually hunted doves. I thought it was more of a Pentecostal thing. So this was a non-denominational church. Calling it a church feels wrong, because realistically it felt like a cult. It was very that, yes. Also, the pastors had the most evangelical pastor names. You ready for this? Pastors Wayne and Kathy Force. Pastor Force.
Oh my gosh. Did they? No, they probably didn't. They probably weren't Star Wars fans.
Oh, absolutely not. They were anti.
Yeah,
everything.
right. But that would have been so great.
That would have also
as
made
a
them good
sign
people.
off.
That would have
As a
been that also would have made them good people because I almost fought Pastor Kathy in a church in a not a church in a hospital once. Remember the aforementioned drug dealer my mom was dating?
was it the pastor?
No.
Oh.
So my mom was in the hospital. An aforementioned drug dealer was trying to visit, and like me and my aunts, her sisters, are like, "Get the fuck out! Like you do the crack, get out! Like we don't want you here." Pastor Kathy's there. She's like, "This man has aspirations of being your father." She says to me at 13 after my dad died. And this is a crack dealer. Remember when I mentioned like having to hold a cat when they're attacking? That's what my aunts had to do with me. Just 13-year-old Amanda, I was ready. I've never been more ready. I was ready to scrap.
See, that sounds like another instance of she should have just mind your business. Like why?
She thought she was helping because my mother wanted the crack dealer to visit her. And me and her sisters thought that was a bad idea. So this benevolent white woman was helping. And I was ready to fight. So I had to be dragged away like an angry cat. I had to go sit in the car. Because I was the one that was wrong. I was wrong.
I would like to, like, honestly, excuse me, your inner child, what the, like, what the fuck?
I'm very well adjusted, aren't I? In comparison, yes. You know what? You're right. I never understood the getting under a chair for rapture drills, but I think like the idea was like if buildings are collapsing and shit, like that was to protect the physical body, and then like when all that shit's done, then you get just like yoinked
See,
up.
that still doesn't make sense because it's like they go all
It's a cult. None of it makes sense.
They do all this talking about how the physical realm is trash or whatever. So why are you trying to protect your body?
It's a cult. None of it makes sense.
No, like wouldn't it be better to like get smashed by something?
No.
And I mean, I guess it shouldn't make a difference. If you're going to heaven, you're going to heaven. I'm confused.
It was a cult. No one cared. The whole idea of fire and brimstone was to scare people back. It was. There always is a benevolent white woman, is there? There's always a benevolent white woman trying to make things better.
I mean,
I hate it.
I'm wondering, does anyone have that? So we talked about the manga first because I thought that it would give people time to like write questions. But were y'all were y'all actually like engrossed in what we were saying? Because like what? Y'all ain't got no questions.
Technically, traditionally, after the final judgment comes the resurrection of the dead. But like everyone's in like outer burial chambers. I know how people are buried. Like, how are they getting out of that? There's a lot of cement over bodies.
I'm gonna be honest and say that I would be pissed. Like, I would be absolutely pissed if I had died and then woke and then was resurrected. Because once I go, I don't want to come back here. Like,
you're not resurrected like on Earth.
I'm done. Like,
no, you're not resurrected on. No, you're not. You're not resurrected on Earth. It's okay.
Just like like what?
So like at least I do have questions, but I didn't want to
interrupt
us, please.
Yeah, you could just type.
Please fucking interrupt us. If you interrupt us,
yeah, because we could have just looked at it later. Like,
yeah, please interrupt us. We are insane otherwise.
Yeah, always as you think of questions, just type it and then we'll get to it.
Yeah,
you know
don't worry. Like we're on it. Please, we're insane. A lot of details weren't ironed out.
Right, because it's made up. That's it's just like, I mean, tarot is made up, and I've used tarot Like,
Okay.
astrology is made up, and I use astrology.
Okay.
Like,
In
it's all
the
made
Jacques
up.
Derrida sense, yes, everything is made
It's
up.
all
Okay.
made up.
How do you guys feel about authors recognizing the sexual assault as traumatic for the victim, but still having him get with the abuser at the end of the manga?
Personally, I hate it. As like a personal, like, I hate
Mhm,
that.
mhm,
It is it's very frustrating for me. It's a big
mhm,
reason why I didn't like fourth generation. Well, I guess technically they didn't really get together,
mhm,
but like they were still friends or
mhm,
friendly with each other. And
mhm,
I was just like, I hate that.
mhm,
Because I prefer to see, like, people who, when people do bad things, I like to see the consequences.
mhm.
Um, which could be like a kink in and of itself. I like to see people get the consequences. So for me, I hate it.
I don't know if I'd call that a kink. I do think that's interesting because I think also like that's very colored by your experience.
Mm,
Um, so like for me and how I've processed my trauma around a lot of that stuff, as long as it's framed in a way that everyone still acknowledges that it was bad,
mm-hmm,
I don't have a big issue with it because like I know for me, like I mentioned being in an abusive relationship earlier, I was emotionally abused.
mm-hmm,
I got back with that guy a multiplicity of times because I don't want to say I didn't know it was bad. I didn't know how bad it was. Like
mm-hmm,
that's actually fairly realistic that even though a person is being abused and they know they're being abused, they do oftentimes still end up with that abuser.
mm-hmm,
So again, as long as it's framed well, that everyone still knows it's bad, I'm less upset about it. I do have issues like Aisha said, like with like fourth generation head, where like it's just not talked about and it's not a problem. Like I do have issues with that, where it's just like
mm-hmm.
whatever you did something bad,
Excuse me.
or like a way a lot of like '90s BL and early 2000s BL handled it, where it's like rape as a side effect of like a petty ass argument,
Mm-hmm,
and then the UK like forgets and they apologize and it's all a giant misunderstanding. Yeah, I
mm-hmm,
fucking hate that shit. But like if it's something where like everyone is aware that this is toxic and bad and it's just genuinely two broken people together, I don't have a big issue with that. I actually
mm-hmm,
think it can be almost poetic in some ways. Again, as long as like that trash fire is very contained and they can acknowledge that it's a trash fire,
mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't have a huge problem with that. I actually think that that can be weirdly beautiful.
Mm. Yes. Those were our answers. And yes, tarot was it was just it's just made up. Like, it's not that's
I mean, you're not wrong.
not real.
You're not wrong. Like
I mean, just because something is made up though doesn't mean that it can't have meaning. And I do
exactly.
respect that, like, Christianity has meaning to people,
Yeah.
just not to me.
Another one. How do you feel about sexual assault being recognized as bad but somewhat excused because the abuser was also a victim? Mm,
No, I will say first, like, I am, maybe I'm just sensitive to this, but
mhm,
I don't, because this is something that I think I've said this before, like, sometimes a lot of the things that I am triggered by in fiction
mhm,
are things that I have experienced in
mhm,
my life or have, like, seen people close to me experience. And so
mhm,
I'm like, it's hard for me to separate that from
mhm,
fiction because I'm like, this is a thing that has happened.
mhm,
And so I hate that, because just because
mhm,
someone was or a victim does
mhm,
not make their abuse okay, and
mhm,
that it needs to be acknowledged. It's kind of like
mhm,
what Amanda was saying, like, sure, if they have a moment where they go to therapy and things are acknowledged or at least talked about, then I could
mhm,
like kind of step out of myself
mhm,
for a minute. But like, for the most part, I really don't like it at all. Like, trauma is not an excuse
mhm,
to be an asshole. And I, like I said earlier about, like, not understanding, or like, if you know that you wouldn't want something done to you, then
mhm,
you at least understand that it's not a good thing. So it's just like,
mhm,
most people who, even if they were in my not opinion, in my
mhm,
experience, the people that
mhm,
I've dealt with have been victims, but they also know damn well that they don't want to they wouldn't want these things done to them because it was done to them, but they're still doing it, you know? And it's like, I don't know, it's not an excuse because you can, choices, choices can be made.
So to counter,
Mm,
uh, I have similar issues with it with real people.
mhm,
In fiction, again, I'm a little bit softer on it as long as it's acknowledged. But I also will say, dealing with my trauma and being raised by people with trauma, it happens a lot.
mhm,
It's usually way more unconscious than you think. That even
mm,
if you know that you wouldn't want that to happen because you were still raised in a maladaptive way, it
mhm,
often still happens. Like I know Aisha and I have talked about this before. Like I have gaslit people while saying stop gaslighting me, but that's a maladaptive coping skill that I've gained by being raised by maladaptive people.
mhm,
I'm not proud of it. I'm not happy for it. I don't think that I'm a better person for it. But I think that like that level of like demanding that people with trauma be better
mm,
is a really, really dangerous kind of thing, because I know, like, at least for me, I can acknowledge where I'm broken and where I'm bad,
mhm,
and I can consciously try to be better. But it takes a long time to unlearn these things. And
mhm,
the thing is very few people do get to that level of self-awareness where they even can
mhm,
recognize that I don't like this, ergo.
mhm,
Ve- Very few people even get to that step where they can acknowledge, I don't like how this made me feel when it
mhm,
happened to me, thus I should not do it to others.
mm,
Um, so I will not ask for that level from anyone, and I'm glad when it happens.
mhm,
But I know it took me 20 years of therapy and a whole fuck ton of antidepressants to even get to the stage of I did not like it when it was done to me.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
as
Well,
far as
that's
fictional,
yeah. Well, sorry, I was just that's why emphasize, like,
mhm.
in my experience,
Right,
because everyone's experiences are different,
exactly.
and, you know, also because like, this is we all have talked, I know I've talked
Mhm,
ad nauseum about, or at
mhm,
least mentioned or hinted
mhm,
at
mhm,
trauma.
mhm.
Personally, I don't really love talking about it, so but yeah, no, like, I totally get that. So go ahead. Okay, so anyways,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So for me, I'm not necessarily okay with it. Again,
Mhm,
I still like the framework of just someone has to acknowledge it was bad. And if
mhm,
anything, in fiction, I almost do sort of like that dissonance of I'm acknowledging it's bad, I'm still gonna do it. Like in
mhm,
fiction, again, in fiction, uh, I kind of like that. I think it's an
mhm,
interesting dynamic of that dissonance of I know cognitively this is bad. I
mhm,
know when this happened to me, I thought it was bad, but
mhm,
I am so in a place of anger, frustration, whatever, that that is overridden and I don't care.
mhm. And that makes a good villain, though, or, like,
Right,
antagonist. Like, I mean,
right.
so
It
there's a
well,
place for it. Just
it just makes an interesting character, like, not even an
yeah.
antagonist, it's like, again, like, just, like, messy couples, it's like,
Mhm,
I don't care, like, the idea that someone could do that, like, again, it's toxic and
mhm.
gross, but, like, that someone could override that drive to go
Yeah.
against your better nature, I think that's hot as fuck in
Mm.
fiction. In real life, that's called abuse. Don't do it. But like that sounds amazing to me. Like the few
Mm.
times it happens in some of the gravitation dojins where Eri is very sensitive to assault and stuff like that because of his past. When Suichi does something to override that, it's fucking insane. It's not healthy, good, or anything, but it's fucking insane. Um,
Mhm.
ah, so I'm glad that we were enlightening and nuanced. All of these questions are pertaining to the manga
Wow, wait, which one? Oh, this one, okay.
Sakuragari. This manga touched me in a way that left me absolutely devastated, but also very conflicting. I've never read it.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, I've never read it. I would be curious
Yeah.
to
But also, I
check
would
out.
say that,
Yes.
and this is kind of, I think that in the rise, like with the rise of like people talking about or sharing their opinions about like things they read and stuff like that on the internet, I often sometimes I feel like there is almost this pressure to like sit down and like figure out how you feel about something, like everything that you read. And I guess I want to say like it's if you read something and it made you feel extreme emotions, um, and in a way that like even if it was like devastating, it was also kind of like enjoyable or cathartic or whatever, that's okay, and you don't
Mhm.
need to justify that or explain that to people. Like don't feel like you have to, like if you mention offhand that you like that manga, you don't owe someone an explanation as to why. Now, if you want to have a conversation and you are in a safe space and you're like, okay, like you were asking us questions, like that's totally fine. But I would say don't internalize that and make it feel like, or make it yourself think that like you aren't allowed. Like if you liked it, even if it hurt you, you're allowed to, and you don't have to justify that. I don't just, so I guess if you're asking us these questions to kind of like work through your own feelings, it is okay for you to feel how you feel about it without, you know, needing like permission from others, I guess is what I'm saying. So,
I think I
yeah.
agree and disagree with that. Like, I agree with where you're
Mm,
going with that, but I
mhm,
think again, it just goes back to like how we both process emotions differently. Where I do a lot of my processing externally, and you do almost all of your processing internally.
mhm,
I like, if anything, having more conversations with the things that devastate me, because
mm,
if anything, it helps ground me a lot.
interesting.
Um, and it doesn't necessarily like change how I feel about it.
Mhm,
Um, but I like having those conversations with people because one, it can be incredibly grounding. Like I know, like after Devilman Crybaby, when I had like a full breakdown,
mm,
I had to come down, and I needed my friend to help me do that. And like,
mm,
of course, like the ending made him sad. I was destroyed, and I needed that grounding force to talk through it, and
mm,
for him to help me process through this. So I get where you're going with that sentiment,
mhm.
but I also don't want to discourage anyone who wants to do that.
That's
So
fair.
I'm over here usually advocating for the middle path.
Mhm,
Because I totally get where you're coming from. Yeah, like your feelings are your feelings, and you don't owe anyone anything.
mhm,
But I also think that like that's one of the reasons why these communities are so great, is to have these
mm,
conversations, and we're not going to invalidate your feelings. Again, like talking about them and then having someone comment is not poking holes or devaluing your feelings. It's just
mm,
commentary. Like if I say, like if I read this series and I'm not destroyed by it, it doesn't devalue that you were. It
mhm,
doesn't invalidate that you were. It just didn't do that for me. Like I'm not destroyed by you not liking Liza as Argent and Vaners as much as I
mhm,
did. It's interesting. I don't necessarily agree with you, but it's not, it has
mhm,
not changed any of my feelings towards it.
mm,
So if you are open to these conversations, which I think is the entire point of having these online communities,
mm,
do it. But please don't think that having these conversations is in any way devaluing or demeaning your experience. Now, there are circles that will do that. So,
mhm.
again, I'm definitely not trying to devalue what you had said. There are circles that
Yeah.
will do that, but we do our best not to be one of them.
Yeah, I was just commenting because they said that they have very conflicting feelings about it, and
Sure.
that sentence, "conflicting feelings," made me think, "Okay, wait, if you're having conflicting feelings, it's totally okay that you like, you don't need to justify." Like, I that's all I was saying. That's
Right.
all I was saying was, like, you don't have to feel like if you're conflicted, you don't have to you don't have to look to us to feel how to, you know, to get permission. But if you're asking and you're just
Right.
wanting to have a conversation, that's
And I
also
didn't even
fine
read
too.
that deeply into it because I've absolutely just left things that I'm conflicted. I've 100%. I have absolutely left reviews at like, I don't know how I feel about this.
Mm.
And that's it. I'm not looking for conversation. I'm not looking to be
Mhm.
corrected. I'm not looking for anything. It's like, I don't know how I don't know.
Well, yeah, but she also, or sorry, they
They.
also asked questions and then clarified and said, "Oh, these questions are pertaining to this."
Sure.
And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I
Yeah.
was just kind
No,
of
I get what you're meaning.
reading
I just,
between the lines, I guess.
yeah, it's okay. Let's see. RE, the discussion around the idea that yaoi fetishizes gay men. Been
Oh,
reading
wait.
yaoi since 6th grade. They were among the first comics I read that featured relationships that I wanted to read about. I viewed yaoi as gay romance fantasies. They were an escape for me because I found that actually dating who I wanted to in middle school and high school more challenging and full of more drama than I wanted. Yeah. Like yeah, it's uh we we give yaoi and BL a lot of shit for stuff that we don't give Western romance a lot of shit for. A lot of it is just flat out racism. A lot of it is misogyny. A lot of it is these kids have this beautiful network of language that we just didn't have back in the day, and now they know just enough to exploit it. Because we didn't have words like cultural appropriation and problematic. We didn't have those words back then. Uh, it's it's all rooted in a real concern, but it's exploited in a way that is not fair and is often very punishing and exclusionary to the people who stand to be most affected. It's a form of
Mm.
cultural gentrification. It's sort of like the kink at pride conversation that I love having. Uh, do you know about
I've
that one?
no.
So a lot of so Pride has consistently gone more commercial.
Hmm.
Especially this year as Pride was returning, there was a lot of conversation on like gay Twitter about whether kink should be present at Pride. So like your
Mm.
leather daddies, your harnesses, your puppy plays, stuff like that.
Mhm.
A lot of the youths were saying no because that's not family friendly. It's a bad sign. It fetishizes gay men, blah, blah, blah. To which all of the other gays are like, one, Pride is not here to be palatable to straight people. Two, Pride started as a fucking riot with bricks being thrown and violence because police
Mhm.
officers have always been terrible. Three, kink and sex have always been a part of the queer fabric. Always. Four, we literally have pride flags for all of those men.
I'm just like whenever they say like king, are they talking about like just certain types of clothing associated with that, or are they talking like people like I don't know getting spanked out in the middle? Like what is I don't under I guess I'm confused. What's the
They
problem?
mean a little bit of all of
Like
that. Like they basically want a very sanitized version of Pride because
like
the concern is like it's like anime conventions have that like the Ahegao shirts and everything like that. Like, well,
uh-huh.
this should be family friendly. No, no one made anime conventions to be family friendly. If you bring your children, that's on you.
Yeah.
It is not my responsibility as cosplayer panelist to pander to your child. Unless I'm at an event that says family friendly,
Yeah, like why not
then it
just
is. But like if you're trying to take your kid to like New York Pride and you're upset because there's a drag queen like doing a hula hoop routine
mhm.
with dildos, why are you
Also,
bringing your child to this?
I would think that I think that and I could absolutely this is just a generalization. I do not know, just as an assumption, but I have a feeling that the majority of the kids that would be at Pride are also probably gay or at least coming from like gay families or
No,
gay-ish families.
no, absolutely not. A lot of it
Really?
is so a lot of it honestly is RuPaul's Drag Race's fault. Once it became really mainstream, there's a lot
Uh-huh.
of like cis het straight children who love it because a lot of the queans are very
Okay. Well,
Instagrammable. They do makeup, they do
yeah.
songs.
Well, then they should
Uh
I feel like then it should be a learning experience for them. Like get
okay, we're also black and angry. But if you're used to this very sanitized particular version of a drag queen, and then you go meet a real one and they're like a fucking raccoon just like eating cigarettes. Like that's not Drag Race. That's not the beautiful person that you saw on TV whose makeup is immaculate and is never sworn. This is a possum. Like this is a dick possum.
I
And I
mean,
understand that. Like I've had that like as a cosplayer. Like I've had like kids like, "Oh my god, you're amazing." And I'm like, "I'm trash.
mm,
Don't look up to me." Like I'm literal garbage. Like oh my god, like and this isn't even like a humble brag. I say because it stresses me out. The amount of kids I've had be like, "Oh my god, you're such an inspiration." Like no, I am garbage.
I mean, I I think that's sweet.
I mean, I
You
just like I'm not ungrateful.
Oop,
I think it's a lot of pressure. One, it's a ton of pressure to put on a mentally ill person,
I don't know why I
and
did that.
two, like I don't see myself that way. I see myself as me, Miss Dick Pig Intercontinental. Like I don't what
Did you say dick pig?
I did, Miss Dick Pig Intercontinental, which is actually a joke from Drag Race.
Oh, I mean, I don't watch Drag Race. I don't really watch TV much. Like, so
Aisha
I've
just
never seen it.
here's what Aisha's day looks like. It looks like eating, taking photos so that she can get attention on Twitter and Instagram, and then going
Uh-huh.
into a corner and reading manga
And lots of
and videos.
weed.
Then, yeah, that's what Aisha's day looks like. If you were gonna do like if you were gonna do like
Yeah.
a Sir David Attenborough field study of Aisha, it's gonna be like her out in a
Mhm.
field taking like thirsty photos for people's attention. It's gonna be food. It's gonna be food. It's gonna be
Mhm.
weed, and then there's like her like in a corner with no clothes
Yes.
on reading manga.
Yes. I see no problems with this.
I did not
I
think that in
worked
shade.
long and
Like right, that was like
I'm
it
just
can't
like,
even be shady because it's just true.
it's
Like,
just true.
it's not. We've
Yeah.
transcended shade because that's just literally what you do.
Like my youngest brother, one time we were hanging out a few weeks ago when I was up there, and I was like, we were very high, and I was like, I would like to live in a cave. And he was like, ain't that what you already do? And then we started laughing because we were very high. But also it was true because that's, you know, that's, like I said, I put in the work, and then finally I was like, look, this is what I'm going to do for as long as I can, as long as the universe continues to provide, I will stay on this journey. And then eventually, if I need to get a job, I guess I'll do that.
Right, like it can't even be shade if it's just like an actual fact. Um, so okay, let's go to this
Also,
question. I guess I feel
oh,
conflicted about it because I
yes.
usually try to stay away from any works where sexual assault is framed in
Mhm.
an ambiguous way. So the fact that this manga touched me so deeply is almost weird. So that's where I
Yeah.
think like conversation is great because I, at least for me and how I process my trauma,
Mhm.
I really like touching that a little bit. Like I like getting close to that. I
Mhm.
don't like when my hand stays there for too long. It's sort of like to me, it is like touching a light bulb. I
Mm.
like getting close. I like getting close to that flame. Some burn me too much. And like to mention for the thousandth time Devil Man Crybaby, that was too hot. I
Mm.
was not in a place spiritually, physically, emotionally for that. And that set my nerves on fire and I was not okay.
Mm.
But like shows for me like BoJack Horseman and other things like that, like they get close. I personally like touching that flame. My
Mm.
best friend, he also really loves that to the point that it scares me. Like we both share like very similar fears about like oblivion and stuff like that. And he's like,
Mm.
"Yeah, I just watched like this documentary about a guy who recorded his own death while he was overdosing on PCP." And he was like, "It was awful and I hated it, but I watched all of it." And I'm like, "What is wrong with you?" Like like what is wrong? But like that's he likes touching that bulb. He like that is a form of
Mm.
catharsis for him. I don't get it. I would get about halfway there before I started like crying and needed like a video of a cat.
Mm.
But like he loves getting really close to that bulb and touching it. So I personally unless it is severely psychically damaging you in a way that you cannot recover from. I, as reader, as media critic, really like that. I will also say, though, I have to be in the right mood, in the right mindset, in the right everything. Because, yeah, sometimes it gets too real and it hurts too much and it's too weird and it's too
Mhm.
raw. Um, I know, like, for me, BoJack Horseman got to places like that where, like, sometimes it's like, ha, look at the funny horseman. He said something that I felt, and then, oh no, we're talking about like thoughts of suicide and too real. Like,
Mhm. I
so.
mean, the only piece of work that I can like that step like that jumps into my mind that kind of gives me a similar feeling
Mhm.
is the movie What Dreams May Come with Robin Williams. If you
Okay,
haven't seen that movie, first of all, you must be very young or you don't like, I you or
I
you
haven't seen
dislike
it.
movies even more than I do.
I haven't
It's
seen
so
it.
good.
What are you talking about?
Robin Williams is in it. Cuba
Okay,
Gooding Jr. is in it before he
got crazy.
people don't like him anymore, but it's such a beautiful
Okay.
movie, and I cry every time
Mhm.
that I watch it. I don't watch it often because
Mhm.
it does that kind of
Mhm.
thing, I guess. But yeah, other than that, but I also am very aware of like I'm very, very aware of what I'm of my like emotional levels, I
Mhm.
guess. And I know what I'm not going to, I just don't even like, no,
See, and
no.
I'm usually not. So I do kind of like those moments where, like, my breath is taken away. Again, like,
Mm,
in moderation, and if I'm feeling okay for the most part outside of it,
hmm
like, I'm really okay with that because, yeah, like, I never know how I'm feeling. Like I mentioned a few lives ago, like, things that are not dead parent approved. And like
hmm
those moments that just hit you upside the fucking head.
hmm
Like, I really enjoy those moments. Like, I'll say it again, fucking Avengers Endgame, when we get
hmm
to the end, and
Yeah, I won't lie. I definitely
right, and like
shed a thug tear or two.
I knew that I was gonna cry. I didn't know I was gonna cry that hard.
hmm
I didn't know that watching it a couple of days ago, I would still cry that hard. Or like that guy dressed as Master Chief that I mentioned a few lives ago, where he said, "I know
hmm
how hard you fight and I'm proud of you." I didn't
hmm
think that that would be like, "Thanks, Dad." Like, I didn't know. I knew that would like be emotional. I didn't think I'd be like crying at my desk. I watch a lot of videos from this YouTube channel called The School of Life. They do have some
Yeah, I
controversies.
like them.
I was watching a video on how a bad childhood affects your adult life, and there was a
hmm
line in there that said fundamentally babies are very weak. So when they're not given love, all they can do is assume that something is wrong with them, and as children they internalize that.
hmm
So when their parents don't give them love or affection or the things that they need, they can't say, "Oh, it's mom and dad's fault." They can only say, "What did I do not to deserve that?"
hmm
And this is something that I've always known. I could say this to you if you were having like semi therapy with me, but hearing it from someone,
mm
I was in my office crying. I had to like close the door because
hmm
I needed a minute. Like, this was Friday. I had to like close my office door and like be with myself because I just like had it on in the background and it like just
hmm
clicked over to that video. I was like unconsolable for a few minutes. And again, like, this
hmm
is something that I know. If I was having semi therapy, would have said, but hearing it, no. I
hmm
never know
hmm
how anything is going to make me feel. So I like series like that because it challenges me and it makes me kind of like, it points me in a direction of how I'm feeling, which is usually sad. It's usually
hmm
sad about something. Sad about something. Oh my god, good night pun pun is very that. It's so when I was in college, my mom was still alive at this point. I was watching a Cheese Sweet Home, which is about a little cat.
Mm-hmm.
And the first part of the series, Chi is separated from her mother.
Mm.
and that's how she finds her human family.
Mhm.
And there's this part of the first episode where she's just like cold and alone. She's like, I miss my mom.
Yeah, that's why I haven't read that or watched or anything because I know anything that has something to do with like children or in this case like small animals that are basically we're supposed to see them as a child.
Yeah. Oh, I was bald.
Bambi, no. The Fox and the Hound, there's not moms in that, but what kind of anyways,
Yeah. No,
I
I
cried with Up in the movie Up.
okay.
Like
Up.
anything that has to do with children and like couples because I'm over here like
I think
obsessed with the people that I live with. So
I
I'm
think
like
Up is just designed to make people cry.
that whole just that first
I think
the
Up was
opening,
like I think Up was genetically modified to make people cry.
they said
So
you
like
bitches gonna cry
right.
today
So
and
like YouTube Music has finally figured out that I'm an angry homosexual. So they're starting to give me like Disney music now. And out of all of the songs from Up, it gave me that one. That one from the opening. And I'm just like eh. I think Up is like genetically engineered to just make people cry. I think it's a beautiful movie. I think it's my favorite Pixar. I think it's
mm,
like hands down my favorite Pixar. I haven't watched it all in a while, but
mm.
oh my god, I don't think that there's any part of it that's bad. Every part of it is very good,
It's been years since I've
and I regularly cry. My
mm.
younger cousin, I'm like it's a very like toxic masculinity, like dude bro to him. Uh, and he's never seen me cry before. And Up was on the TV, and I'm crying, and he's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." Just, but it's like
No, I'm
he's
a
like,
crybaby.
well, I mean, I am in real life. I realize that, but like in that moment, like he had never seen that kind of
Mhm.
vulnerability from me. He was like, "What
Mhm.
the fuck?"
I've
Also,
been crying.
before my mom's wake, I had on the Princess and the Frog, and we
Fuck
got
that
to
movie. I'm so sorry, but
no, you're not. And we got to Evangeline. I started crying, and
yeah, oh, okay. As much as I despise that movie, I absolutely I told you when it's like
yeah.
people in love and they like I can't handle it.
So
I
I'm
cannot handle it.
so I'm getting ready for my mom's wake, and I'm crying, and my aunt comes in. She's like, "Oh, Amanda, it's okay. We're gonna get through this." Like Evangeline. She's like, "You're not even sad about your fucking mom." It's like, shut up. Uh, I could definitely
Ugh.
relate. If a series makes you cry, I'm like 90% of the time more than like exactly. The way I proceeded to read Banana Fish manga immediately after. Right. The manga is not much different from the anime, but it is slightly different. So I'm glad that you went through and I read the manga. I had a great time talking about dubcon and non-con, mostly just because, again, like for me, it's. I'm glad that we put it on the problematic spice rack, which is a great idea for a design that is still in our shop. Uh, but I feel like as a spice, it's almost like cayenne. Like I feel like people tend to abuse it too much. Like it's just
Mm,
everywhere, and it doesn't need to be. And I think like cayenne, it's really off-putting if there's too much of it in a dish.
mm,
Like I agree. I'm much more selective about it than I was when I was younger. Uh because so much of it just isn't written well. So much of it is
mhm.
just assault for the sake of assault, and I don't like that.
Excuse me.
Aisha over here dying.
My allergies are really bad.
No, mine too. Like same. But like I'm definitely a lot more selective than I was. I know like in the 90s I ate that shit up. Like
Mhm,
90s and 2000s I ate that shit up. But like we didn't really know better, and
mm,
we were dumb young children, and that stuff wasn't scary yet.
mhm.
Or
It
it
wasn't
didn't
even real yet because you didn't.
yeah, like it didn't feel real. I mean, and it made then when it really happened not feel real because desensitization. So
Mm,
the gift that keeps on giving.
mhm,
But yeah, like I do agree that like it's very overused and very overplayed, but I still think that when done appropriately, it can be a very interesting power dynamic. And I say interesting about as loaded as you can think of. Because
mhm.
yeah, like I don't agree that it's everywhere. I also don't like the double standard that it's all over Western media, and we don't really say anything about that. eh,
Yeah.
everywhere in Western media.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I think just from my perspective as someone who isn't really deep in those
Hmm.
spaces, it seems like the majority of people who identify as like, lovers of BL, that's primarily what they are ingesting. And like, so that's what they're going to be. It's kind of like, I don't know if we're talking about hair or whatever, and
Hmm.
all I'm into is like natural hair. Um, like, like I'm not going to be complaining. I'm not going to talk about like, well, in this group of people, like they have the same issues because I'm like, well, I'm not paying attention to them. I'm talking about in this space. So, I mean, I could see where people would be like,
But
yeah,
that's
but
not
I'm
how.
reading BL.
Yeah, but that's not how fans are. Like, if you
Mm,
had said that like 10, 15 years ago, when like, yeah, it was like the four tribes in fucking Avatar, where you're only an
mhm,
anime fan, you're only a Western fan, you're only,
mhm,
but no fan is like that anymore. Like,
mm,
we are all polyglots now. Like, that's just how it is.
mm,
So I would agree with you again, like, yeah, like 10, 15 years ago, sure. But
mhm,
like, no, I know these kids are reading other things because I've seen what they're reading. I know what they're talking about.
mhm.
Like, so, and also like these are the same kids who think that they're woke in other spaces. So
Mm.
it is a willful ignorance. It is not, I
Interesting.
respect you trying to give them some credit. I do. But like
I
it
mean, I also like don't know because I don't. Like I said, I am not. I'm not in those spaces. 'Cause
right. Like to return to our my favorite title for us is fuck them kids the podcast. Uh like I know these kids are watching other things because they talk about it, but they
mm,
don't seem to have as many issues with it. I think because honestly, like we mentioned in the Fujo hate episode, it's really easy to hate on BL. It's really easy to hate on Fujos. And in all
mm,
fairness, sometimes we're a very easy target, but we're low hanging fruit. And yeah, sometimes we are hella toxic. I think the way that some writers still super latch on to rape and non-con and dubcon, yeah, I think that's gross. If I like, there's a lot of writers that I follow that do almost nothing but that. And yeah,
mm,
I think that's a little sketchy. Not enough to like say anything, but
mhm,
yeah, I do have some concerns about that person. You have not written a consensual relationship in 5 years. I have some
mm,
questions. Again, not enough to be a jerk or say anything or ascribe a trait to them that I
mhm,
don't know of personally. But yeah, I have some questions. You have not written a consenting relationship
mm,
ever. So either you're going through something or, you know, exact. I'm not going to. That's my big thing with like modern like fan culture is sort of
mm,
like what Aisha said is like, just mind your fucking business. Like, unless this is hurting someone else who is real, I don't. Shut up. Shut up. Unless this is hurting another person who is real, unless this is hurting you, let me live. You don't know me. You don't know my life. You don't know what I'm going through. You don't know anything.
mhm,
So, unless I am hurting something that hasn't paid me to hurt them, leave me alone. Leave people alone. So, like, yeah, that author who's done nothing but dubcon and non-con, sure, I have some questions. I don't want to answer any of them. Like, there's I love Crash Course and like Vlog Brothers, John and Hank Green.
mhm,
Um, I really like John as a media critic and as a person. As an author, I'm not very fond of him because he is
mm,
a cis het white man who loves to write young adult fiction
mm,
aimed at mostly women. And most of his main characters are either manic pixie dream girls or
mm,
like incel light white men.
mm,
And some of the scenes that he writes are explicit.
mm,
Do I think that John Green is gross? No. Do I have some questions as to why he is still in this space?
mm,
Yes. Enough to say anything? No. Enough to make a loud proclamation on the internet? No. I have questions, sure. but it's none of my business unless it comes out or I witness something.
Mm.
It's yeah, I have some questions. Yeah, it personally squigs me out a little.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna call him a pedo or anything.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing that you can do that would like be really beneficial
Well,
for anyone. Like
not
it
even
would
just beneficial. It's
like
just rude.
yeah, it's like what did you it's like what would I get out of it?
And not even again, like not even that. It's just fucking rude. Like I don't know his life. Maybe he needs to work through some of this stuff. Maybe he just likes doing this, and there's no ulterior motive at all. I don't know. I can say that personally, yeah, I have a few concerns. But unless I witness something with my eyes,
Mm.
I don't know. Like, I think that like there's just not enough room for that. Like, because I don't ever want to like detract from people who like, yeah, have brought up criticisms like that and do have some feelings about it. That's
Mm.
valid. I have similar feelings on a lot of American authors, like George R. R. Martin when he does Game of Thrones. There's a lot of rape in there. That's not necessary. There's a lot of violence against women in there. That's not necessary.
Mhm.
Those are choices. I have questions. Not enough to ascribe anything to him. I don't know this man.
Mm.
Now, if it were to come out, he has a secret murder basement, I might not be shocked, but I'm not gonna I can't ascribe anything to him. I don't know.
Mm.
But do I have some questions and concerns about him as an author and the choices that he's made? Of course I do. That's just reading and ingesting media. But
Mm.
it's having that like critical knowledge to just like take a break and be like, this is not an airplane. You do not need to announce your departure. Like, you
Mm.
don't need to say, I have feelings about this. Like, that's not always your responsibility
Mhm.
as an individual. Sometimes it is. And, like, that's one of the ways that social media has been great. Galvanizing people who have similar stories to get powerful people taken down because they've been
Mhm.
abusing their power. But the person writing fanfic isn't that person.
Right.
Like, the person shipping these fictional characters is not Harvey Weinstein. Like the person writing your fanfic is not Bill Cosby. The person who has a t-shirt of these two characters that may or may not be underage is not R.
Mhm.
Kelly. Like they are not these gross people that the internet has made them out to be.
That we
Uh
know of.
that we know of. That we know of. I'm trying to give people the benefit of the doubt.
Never don't assume don't expect nothing.
I mean I don't.
Expect
No,
because you never know.
this is true. This is true. Please leave fanfic writers alone. Yes,
But
please.
also
Yeah. I don't disagree with you, but I'm trying to give people the benefit of the doubt. I'm trying, okay? You're right. Some people are gross and terrible
it's
and
like,
they do hide.
no. But
My
I think it's
favorite,
not the majority.
no, not at all.
So
My favorite is every once in a while, especially like during Pride, um people that have predilections to underaged people,
mm,
pedophiles. They love to try to sneak in and say, "Oh, we're a part of the LGBT family. We're trans ageist," and it's like, no one invited you. No one wants you here. But like it'll especially like around Pride Month, they'll try to like sneak in. It's like, yeah, we're trans ageist. Yeah, we're just like you guys. We belong in the LGBT family. And like all the LGBT people are like,
mm-mm.
get the fuck off our lawn. So yeah, folks will try to sneak in. I'm not denying that. Bad people do try to sneak in. That is true.
Trying to
Yeah,
infiltrate.
I saw that and I was just I've
That's
never
disgusting.
been I mean, yes, but also just like I've never been more upset. No, I think transracial made me more upset. If you can be transgender, why can't you be transracial? I identify as someone who's from Korea. To which
I want to see somebody try that in Korea. I want to see somebody go and be like, I'm because they would be like, 누구세요? Who is this?
yeah,
Who are you?
I would love for like some pasty white person to like
Like,
saunter up to a Juneteenth party. Yes, hello, I'm transracial. I identify as black, and then just like record scratch. So everybody stares. Transracial does make me very angry, but like in a way that I just think is funny.
I
Because I never experienced it in real life, knowing that if I did, that person would be gone. They would just
right.
evaporate. I would read that person to death. Just what?
I just think that's funny.
Like I can think it's funny because if I ever met a person like that, I would read them into oblivion. That person would just be like a little smoldering pile of ash.
I mean that, you know, that's
Transracial. But yeah, like of course some people do try to sneak in. That's one of the reasons why it's so important online to know dog whistles, because yeah, like people do try to sneak in and infiltrate conversations, and they're wrong, and they will try to manipulate positive rhetoric to be gross and push an agenda. ContraPoints, who we mention in every live, has some great episodes on dog whistles on the internet, especially for like fascist and QAnon and stuff like that. So I definitely recommend if you are interested in that world.
What? Is it a new?
No, it's an older video.
Oh, I was like, did she drop it?
No, she hasn't yet.
Oh, okay.
We did get a new Lindsay Ellis not too long ago, and it was good. I wish she spent more time talking about some of this stuff, but it was good. She did one on Little Mermaid.
Oh yeah, I did. Did I?
I didn't dislike it, but I definitely feel like she's kind of been holding back since her little scandal.
Yeah.
I can't say that I would not be the same way, because I know after I got canceled, I sure didn't post on my blog for a while, and mine was just guinea pig stands. Like, yes, Aisha?
The guinea pigs.
I think I don't want to say this, but I think I'm actually over the worst of it. I have not gotten a negative comment in a while. The last one I got was someone called me a shitiot, which is a combination of shit and idiot. And I mostly just think that shitiot is a funny word.
Honestly, like I was just thinking that I might use that.
Yeah, like it's actually like infiltrated some of like my day-to-day speech. Like we mentioned it in some of the servers, and then like it's like shitiot is the best word that's ever been created.
Yeah.
They are little cavies, but yeah, guinea pigs got me canceled. And I think it's over. I hope it's over. It's been years. I would like my life back. I would like to not die as the person who angered guinea pig people.
I mean, you know,
I'd like to be the person that angers like incels or something like that. I don't want to go down as the person that angered guinea pig people.
I would rather just stay in my house and mind my business. I'm sure I have angered people. I just
you say you just said the most inflammatory shit on this live.
I only speak truth.
Pans to camera left. Ma'am, you said the Bible's fiction. That's offensive to someone. Hell, it's half offensive to me. I don't care.
Well,
that's one of the instances where I'm too lazy to fight you.
Well, and that's the thing is I won't argue. Like I'm not gonna argue. Like okay.
I it's one of those things that, like, there's like a phantom shock in me where I was raised Christian Catholic for so long that like it starts to like, oh God, and it's like,
see, I got over that years ago. Living around here, where like the first thing that people ask you is where do you go to church, and after a while, when you start to like, I used to lie And then I eventually was like, I don't
I can still
care.
say a church. I can still say that I went to a church.
No, I just say I am not religious.
That's fair.
And then
That's
they're just
wild.
like, oh,
That's wild. Because why guinea pigs? Because I called out a woman in England who has too many guinea pigs and she accepts money for these guinea pigs, even though she always says that she's not a rescue, that she's a hobbyist, and that because she's a hobbyist taking money for these guinea pigs that she does not need to take on. Like her herd ballooned to the number that it did because she had an unneutered male and with a bunch of females, and they started having babies. So now she has like 80 something guinea pigs between like her herd and the guinea pigs she's taken on.
mm,
But like she keeps saying she's not a rescue, she's not a rescue, she's not a rescue. But like every episode and every like week she's like shaking out her little tin can for money. And it's like, but if you're not a rescue, then why do you keep begging? And because she had like a couple of videos go viral, she has a huge fan base. So she's
mm,
genuinely detracting from actual rescues. Because fun fact, guinea pigs and rabbits are given up a lot.
yeah, I was
People
told
get
that.
them, they get one guinea pig, they're miserable because they're supposed to be in at least pairs.
Mm,
They have bad behavior, they smell,
they
they're
smell
loud.
bad.
Like a lot of people love getting guinea pigs, and then when they're more work than you think, they get rid of them. So she's detracting a lot of attention away from actual rescues to serve this very underfed and undersourced population of people that rescue cavies.
Mm,
And I called that out. I said that, and she also has a lot of drama around her again because there are a lot of rescues that mad at her for this. And I called that out. I said, for a channel that says that they don't like drama, drama
mhm.
goes two ways. There is no such thing as drama between one person.
Right.
And
That was
I
funny.
said that. Like I said that, like for a page that likes to say that there's no drama or the drama is not their fault, there seems to be a lot of drama. Because
Mhm.
yeah, you can't have drama with one person.
Right.
There's no beef of one
Fighting
person.
with yourself.
Right. Like you have to respond to that
Mm.
for there to be drama. And I just said that was a choice. And she posted this on her page to her tens of thousands of fans.
Mm.
And they came after me. Because even though I didn't say anything cruel about her, I never said that the guinea pigs weren't well taken care of. I never said that I thought she was a bad person. I do now. I
Mm.
now say she's a bad person, even though she's apologized to me.
Mhm.
I still say she's a bad person because that was again a choice that she made because she knew what she was doing when she shared my blog post with her thousands of fans who give her money. She knew that. Even if she likes to say, I couldn't have known, you knew.
Mm.
I couldn't have known they would attack you. Really? You had no idea. None. Your thousands of followers that give you tens of thousands of dollars.
Mm.
You had no idea that they would react this way towards me. A small queer person of color. You had no clue. None.
Right.
Cool. Like, so in that post, I never said she was a bad person. I never said the guinea pigs were poorly taken care of.
Mm.
I just said for a page that likes to talk about, I don't like the drama, there sure is a lot of drama. Point proven.
Mm.
I've been canceled for over a year because of this. For a woman who likes to say, I don't like having drama.
I mean, see, this is another instance of where I would have been like, I'm just gonna sit here and eat my food. I would have looked at that. I was like, oh, that's look what she's doing over there, and then I just
Well,
that's
and honestly, I
it sounds
usually would
exhausting.
have. Like, I'm usually like usually when I blog about stuff, like I
Mm.
usually don't touch people that are alive or that are
Mhm.
that current. Not because I necessarily fear canceling, but just because like I think honestly like, it's just usually kind of rude.
Mm.
But I did my best to in that post. I again like I didn't call her out of her name. I didn't say she was a
Mhm.
bad person. I didn't say that I think that the guinea pigs are badly taken care of. I said one, I think she has too many because she does. Like at the
Mm.
time it was like I think it was like 40. I think now it's closer to like 80.
You know her house
Most
stinks.
of them are outside.
Well, her outside stinks then.
Um, but like, I never said that she was a bad human being. I just said there was a lot of drama, and you
Mhm.
cannot have drama with one person. Even though I'd love to see that, just
It would
like
be entertaining.
right, just like dartboards, like. But like, point proven. You've proven my point because like there was one post
Mm.
that I wanted to do about I know you don't listen to podcasts, but Aaron
Yes,
Mankey,
I
who
do.
well, okay, sorry, that's not what I meant. You don't listen to the kinds of podcasts that I listen to. I think
Okay, that's
that's
probably
where I was going.
yes.
Sorry, my brain didn't finish that sentence. I know you listen to podcasts. Lore by Aaron Mankey.
Oh, I've heard of that one. I didn't
Okay,
like his voice.
okay, that's fair. I
So I didn't
really
listen.
like that podcast, but I'm not crazy about Aaron Mankey as a person.
Uh,
Because he does a lot of that like white neoliberalism thing where he loves to like comment on like black problems and like stand up for women and like
oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I think that might be
what
also a reason why I didn't like.
that might be it. But I really
Yeah,
wanted to do
that's anyway.
I really wanted to do a blog post on that because it really started to bother me.
Yeah.
Because so like for me, the episode that kind of killed it for me was so I also follow Stuff You Missed in History Class, which is like two female historians that talk about the
Mm.
things that you missed in history class. So both Lore and Stuff You Missed in History Class covered Carl Tanzler. Carl Tanzler, of course, being the guy who had an abnormal uh, obsession with a young woman who died, and he stole her corpse
Oh,
and like made her like a corpse bride. He says he never
yeah.
fucked her. He probably fucked her. Uh, but like, so both of those podcasts covered Carl Tanzler. Now,
Mhm.
Stuff You Missed in History Class was sort of like, yeah, this is kind of creepy, but they did their best to leave some more objective. Like, yeah, this is kind of creepy. This is gross, but like, here's the story. When
Mhm.
Aaron Mankey did it, he is like, now Carl Tanzler was a monster. And nowadays, we would consider this guy gross. Like, okay, well, I mean, we considered him gross back then too. Like, but like he's like going out of his way to like preach to this audience that
Mm.
if you're listening to lore, you don't need to be told that Carl Tanzler is a bad person. We
Um,
know, like the person that you're preaching to does not need that message.
mm.
So it just feels loud. Or like he did an episode about Robert the doll, which is one of my favorites. Robert is a little doll who lives in Key West, and he's possessed. And his original owner, Gene, sometimes the family would hear laughing in the middle of the night. Robert would be seen in one window at the start of the day, and then another window at the end of the day, even though no one was home.
Mm-mm.
They would come into Jean's room, and all the other toys would be like beheaded, and Jean's just like in the corner cowering. Robert the doll is actually on display in Key West, and if you want to take a picture of him, you have to ask him permission. If you don't, it is said that he will ruin your life.
See, that pisses me off and makes me want to be like, you know what?
Aisha, I'm not a very superstitious person, but if that doll says you need to ask permission, I will ask in 5 different languages. I'm not going to fuck with
No.
that doll. Um, but during the episode when Aaron Mankey's talking about it, he's like, now Robert was probably given to Jean by one of the black housemaids, which we do not have proof of that. And he makes a point to say, we don't remember the housemaid's name. If you were a woman in the whatever century, that wasn't uncommon. It was even less common if your skin wasn't lily white. Like, yes, we know. We know racism was bad, Aaron. I don't need you to tell me racism was bad.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
I didn't like his voice.
I mean, that's fine. Like that's fine. But like, especially like being a fan for a while, it just like built up in my system.
Mm,
And it's like, especially again, like as we got into like Trump years and stuff like that, it's like I don't need your white neoliberalism. I don't need
yeah.
it. It actually got me into like a pretty public fight with a YouTuber that I called out his white neoliberalism.
Oh,
Like
yeah, that was it. Okay.
I have a very low tolerance for that now. Or to say, I have a low tolerance for white neoliberalism with no action.
Mm.
There it is. I'm fine with white neoliberalism. Feel bad and give me money. Yes. I'm fine with that. I jerk off to white guilt on a regular basis. I love it. But do something. Do something with your platform, with your power, with your time, with your voice. I do not need platitudes or their festive display. That's where I am. I love white liberalism with action. But do not just sit here yelling about black people when you're not helping black people, when you're not helping Asian people, when you're not helping queer people. Right now, all you're doing is talking over us. But yeah, complain and let me take some money. What?
Phineas is playing chopsticks, and it's so cute.
That is very cute. That is very cute. That's so precious.
It's obviously a simplified child version, but it's so cute.
Is there a complicated version of chopsticks?
Yes, like the yes, played by actual like.
I have not played the piano in a hot minute.
No, my kids are good at it. They're so cute. I love it. I'm very proud of them. I'm glad that they still enjoy it. As long as they enjoy it, I will continue to take them and just.
I got up to
so
fur
cute.
release and then I stopped.
Oh no, and he's just so small, and it's just so cute. It's like,
that's cute.
uh,
It must be nice to have like positive feelings about children.
My children.
Because
I mean, I would hope, like, I mean, I carried them, and they ravaged my body, and I gave birth to them.
It does not mean anything.
So, like, well, that's the problem. That's why so many people are fucked up, because
right, like that doesn't mean doesn't mean shit. There's in fact a lot of moms that are still mad about that, mine included.
So I mean, let's not forget where I came from.
I have not. It is not America's Next Top Victim. Acknowledgement.
Right. I'm like, but I love my babies. They're so good.
I'm happy for you for that. Like,
they're so good.
I think for me, I was like, it must be not like just my thoughts with any child is like, God, I hate you. Like, it's just I was at the card shop today, and this little fucking kid like ignores one of the do not enter signs and like goes back behind like the display, and like, oh my God, like the primal black auntie was like ready to snatch this kid like a fucking eagle. It's like, ah! Like he just yanked this kid. And like, you can't do that in public now. That's called abuse.
Yeah. I mean, I have my opinions on kids, but also, we were all kids once. So I'm just like, I mean.
Well, but also, like, you wouldn't like if someone did that to your child that you didn't know.
Right, exactly. Oh, like if somebody touched my kid, right. I don't care what my kid was doing.
Right,
like my kid could have been peeing on you. Don't touch my kid. You come get me.
That's the only level I'm on. Is it like I can't do that? That is the only level I'm touching. I don't mean anything else.
Actually, also my kids, if I turned around and they were peeing on someone, that person wouldn't need to touch them because the way I would immediately.
Right. Like that, but that's also the thing though, is that like your kids would never. So I'm not concerned about that.
Never.
But like this fucking badass kid who like was old enough to know that like you're not supposed to be back here. Yeah, like I was ready. I like form of eagle. Like I was ready to like snatch this child up, and like I didn't, obviously, because like you go to jail.
Yeah, like I'm not trying to go to I'm
not going to prison over someone.
Mind my business.
Kid. But like, oh my God, like the primal auntie was there. The primal black auntie was there, and she was ready.
I mean, I get it. Like, I don't have the same feelings for all children.
Right. Well, I don't have. I think I get like tangential pride in like small doses, but yeah, like I just don't. I don't like. Well, okay. You know what? I have to preface. I don't like bad children. I do like your kids because they're behaved.
I mean, TBH, like you don't really. You just see like
true.
But they are great. They are great. I'm
No,
not
and I'm
lying.
acknowledging that. From what I have been told, I think your kids are okay.
I could also
But,
be embellishing. I mean,
right.
we never know.
From the narrow view that I've been given that I can acknowledge, I think your vacuum is enslaved and your children are great, and that cat has never been fed.
That you would think,
Right?
honestly,
Like
although both of them are like free. Well, they've lost some. They finally like lost
right. Like that's
some weight.
for the slice that I know. Your Roomba's enslaved. Your cat is dying of starvation.
Yeah, yeah, Jimmy is fixed now.
He's back.
Finally,
He's
like
back in the field.
he's back in commission, so he's been doing some
You
work.
know, and that your kids are fine, but like I also know like this narrow chunk of your life, like
When
I
they
can
like
acknowledge
run
that.
past, because I don't like I'm really weird about. I won't even say weird. Why am I shaming myself? I don't put them on the internet much these days because, you
It's
know,
weird, yeah.
yeah, like
I think it's
just.
exploitative. Like I think
I
it's.
mean, I used to have a whole like vlog channel, and I
Mhm.
was just, and then after a while, I was like, why am I? This is weird. Why am I doing this?
Is Jimmy the cat
Jimmy
or the
is
Roomba?
the
Jimmy is
Roomba. Jimmy is my vacuum. The kids named him. So, so therefore, Jimmy is part of our family now. He's actually a very valued member of our family because the time that he was out of commission, I was like, wow. The struggle of having to vacuum my own house by like with an actual vacuum in my hand, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
It's amazing because the more you talk about him, the more he sounds like a house slave.
I mean,
My life was so difficult without Jimmy. Like the more you talk about it, the more he sounds like the help.
Jimmy is very well taken care of. We treat him very well.
Sometimes he gets 3 meals a day.
He, you know,
He gets to come in when it's raining.
he gets his rations.
He
You know,
gets, he
he
gets his little biscuit.
he has a nice cozy spot, his own place in the house. You know, he's well taken care of. If if they, you know,
You took
if
care of
anyone
him while
tried
he
to
was
set him
sick.
for, if any, we did, you know, we
Yeah, you
took
said
care of
you took
him.
care of him while he was
We
sick.
treat him like he's family. He's not just a vacuum to us. He's family.
I'm in pain.
Our household wouldn't run without him. I don't.
I need to emancipate this vacuum. This vacuum needs to be emancipated immediately.
He wouldn't know what to do without us. He wouldn't even know. He would end up a sharecropper.
Oh my
So
I feel like I've been getting out. I need to emancipate this vacuum. This vacuum is in danger. Oh, I found
he's happy where he is.
I found a response GIF that was I refuse to argue with people that John Brown would have shot. And I relate to that on a molecular level. For those of you who don't know,
Yes, the sharecropper.
for those of you that don't know, John Brown led a very, very famous like anti-slave rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like this wild white man just like shooting people who were like very pro-slavery. Like he was an abolitionist, but he was like angry about it.
Mm.
So I found that response image of like, I don't argue with people John Brown would have shot, and I'm like, this is how I'm gonna start approaching things. Is I'm not gonna keep arguing with people that I mean, I already tend to not really argue with racists like that. Because I know I'm not going to win. I know that. So I already don't tend to be in that lane, but like that helped a lot. It's like, I'm not going to fight with you.
Yeah.
Poor Jim.
Listen, Jimmy is doing just fine. Personally, I love to see a Black woman being pampered, even if it has to be me. I'm doing this for the culture.
How brave of you to sacrifice yourself
yes,
for us.
I'm just,
Thank you.
you know,
How
I am.
How brave of you.
I am doing this
There's
you
a
know,
there's a
for
girl in
y'all.
a server that I'm in, and
Mm.
she has chronic pain issues.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
one time she was in the server and she's like, "My therapist said when you're having a bad day, as long as you do 3 things, it's okay." And I was in there like,
mhm.
that's really reckless and irresponsible, like blanket advice.
Hmm,
Like, also, none of us have the privilege to do that because I know, like, I have chronic pain and I
mhm,
can't decide that I can only do 3 things. If I did that, I would be unemployed. I said, like,
mhm,
that is good for you, but like, that's dangerous blanket advice.
mhm, mhm,
Um, and she got mad because, of course, she's a fragile white woman, and the optics are angry brown woman was mean to a
mm.
small, fragile white woman. And she messages a mutual friend and is like, "I understand that Amanda has to work with chronic pain, but just because she has to doesn't mean that I should."
Okay.
And I have never come closer to like going like Jason Bourne and like hunting someone down because that's just like the shittiest thing to say.
This is why, like, and this is coming. I used to be a person who thought, like, oh, giving advice, I'm being helpful, but I've grown so
Hmm.
much. And one of the things that I don't like to see is like, do not do not look at my life, for example, and think like I'm not gonna tell somebody, oh yeah, if you do what I do, your life is gonna be just like mine. Because I promise
Hmm.
you, if you get pregnant at 19 and get
You
married
are
at
not
20, I
you are
promise you
not
it's not gonna
promised
work
the
out
same
like
result.
this. It is.
Right.
I can't tell you what's gonna happen. I
Right.
am pretty sure it's not going to be this because we're different
Mhm.
people and we have different, it's different.
Mhm.
So and I get it though. I will say that like I understand where like some people, because I think we all kind of want to be heard and we want to like share our
Mhm.
perspectives, and then we get like
Mhm.
it's easy to forget sometimes that it's that what works for us doesn't
Mhm.
work for other people. So she was probably thinking, "Oh yeah, I'm giving good and
Right.
good advice," but it's
The
like, "Girl,
benevolent white
no."
woman.
Yeah, but it's like, "Girl, like,
Well, and like
sure, like."
for me, the moral isn't don't give advice. I think it's
Mm,
as you said though. It's just I like when I'm on this live, when I'm on the podcast, I do dispense advice, but it is wrapped
mhm,
between like 50 layers of disclaimers and like
mhm,
this is what has worked for me, and here's the
mhm, mhm.
context, here's the experience, and here is this. That's why I was very careful when I said to her, "This is bad blanket advice."
Yeah.
Because it's true. If I went to my therapist and said, "Hey, I was told to do 3 things and that's it," he'd be like, "Fuck you." Because he knows that's not one, applicable to my life, and two,
Mhm,
not how a person with depression needs to live.
mhm,
Like, yes, I have chronic pain. Yes, I have chronic health conditions, a lot of them. Yeah, I wish I could stay in bed all day, a lot. Physically, I can't. Emotionally, I can't. Financially, I can't. Spiritually, I can't.
yeah, honestly, staying in bed all day is not probably not healthy for most
No, it's not.
people.
It's not.
So
But like the idea of like, yeah, as long as you, even when you're having a hard day, as long as you do 3 things, it's like, okay, I get that, but like that's really
mm,
shitty blanket advice. It's shitty blanket advice. I think the only time I was on that advice is when I was like actively like a self harm risk, like when I
mm,
was like a teenager. That was the only time that it was like, okay, if you can shower and eat and take your meds, that's a great start.
mhm,
And then you have to do something else. Like the 3 is a minimum. It is you
mm,
must at least, you must shower, you must eat, you must take your meds. Now that we have that foundation, what's next?
mm.
But 3 things and peace out. I'm done. Bye. Like,
I
no.
mean, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes that is my day though.
But speaking like from privilege and luxury, yes.
Yes.
Like, yes, that is your day because you have
Mhm.
the privilege and luxury to do that,
Yes, yes,
which is
yes.
fine. I don't, but like, the idea that you can just, but also like, yeah, you wouldn't say that to me because you
No.
know that you get to do that because of privilege and luxury.
Right. Most people.
Yeah. Like
Ca-
you would
like
never, like you would never say, yeah, Amanda, it's okay. Like all I did was lay in bed and eat bonbons. Like,
right.
like I can't do that. I would
No.
be unemployed. Like I can't live your 4 things a day. I can't just go in the woods, take photos, smoke, and read books.
Exactly. I mean, you know, I will say that I wish that everyone could have that life, but then what kind of world would we be living in? Because that we would have nothing. It would stop being fun very soon.
Yes, there'd be no food.
It would be like a week, and then it's like, okay, well, I guess we gotta actually.
I wouldn't even give it a week. I'm gonna say like 5 days.
Honestly, depending on how many snacks I still have, it could be
I'm thinking
even
about
shorter.
like trash pickup. I'm thinking about like
right.
I'm thinking about like society would collapse in maybe like a day or two. There's no restaurants. There's no cashier.
It'd be fun for like it'd be fun for 24 hours.
Who are controlling water, so toilets are just overflowing. There are septic emergencies everywhere,
but everyone's
there's no
high.
one guarding the power grids. Like that's how society collapses.
Honestly, that sounds like a fun way to go, though.
No,
like everyone is stoned.
No, that sounds
and just like is just chilling. Absolutely, no. I stand. I love it. No. This is how I want to go out.
No,
it's just like
I don't like it.
I love it. It just it just all falls apart, and we're all together, and we're all like stoned and naked and just like
that sounds literally awful.
It sounds like the best thing ever. Everybody's you're just like having a good old time.
Have you heard the Bo Burnham song Left Brain, Right Brain?
Probably. Matt's a big Bo Burnham.
Ask him to play the Left Brain, Right Brain song and you will see the two of us.
Listen, I have a very active imagination, and this scenario, honestly, at the very least, it should be a book at the very least, or somebody's movie.
For like 30 minutes, yeah, like it sounds really nice, and then like immediately,
oh, the dolls, these dolls, my cuties, my cutie pies. These are my current favorite brands of dolls. They're called. I say that they're my favorite, and then I can't remember what they're called. They're called
my favorite child, whose name I don't know.
They're called OMG. They're OMG dolls. So
this is my favorite child, whose name I
can't remember their name. But I have a lot of them. Like,
where is she? Can I ask where is she going? Like, what is she dressed for?
Probably a rave.
Like what event is she going to?
This one looks like Beyonce. Low key.
What era Beyonce? Just all of them?
Like
all of them fused into one.
Yeah.
She's all the Beyoncés.
She's all the Beyoncés. And then this one, I don't know who she is. She low key looks like Bree Runway. So we're gonna say this is Bree Runway. Although I don't think any of these dolls are. Well, you know what? They could be.
It is very early 2000s, yes.
Yeah. Okay. See, I just fucked this up, and now my books are gonna fall. Wow, this is what. Look what I did for y'all. Messing up my dolls and stuff. Anyway, I also have like two. No. Oh, actually, wow. Okay, here goes Oku. Wow. I forgot that I have another one that I need to find a spot for. She's super cute. Look at her.
Where's she going?
She's very cute. She's going to a cat cafe.
Oh my God.
She's very cute. Okay, this one, don't judge me, but like I do have this one who looks like she looks almost like an Asian girl with blonde braids. I thought she was going to be darker. Because like on the box it was hard to tell, and then when I opened her I was like, oh no, this looks like cultural appropriation, but she's cute. So but she's really cute.
I'm upset
so
with like the proportions of these dolls.
oh, I love it. They have like the tiniest
They have that
waists.
is no waste. Oh my
And
god.
yeah, and like they're just so exaggerated. They're very much because I was a fan of like Bratz dolls back
See,
in the
I didn't use
day,
that.
and so like this is but these I think these are cuter than Bratz personally.
The only dolls that I did Barbies and I did
Hmm.
American Girl.
Yeah, I had Barbie too. Like Barbie, just the thing about Barbie, at least when I was a kid, like she's always boring, and they they're just boring. Whenever Bratz came out, like they were so vibrant and colorful, and like they felt youthful, and I don't know. I think they also had like I think the Bratz dolls had posable
I was also
limbs.
like making clothes and stuff for my Barbies. Yeah,
Um,
so my grandma had like all the black collectible
right. See,
Barbies
that's
and
what
like
they would always buy for me.
the
And
collectible
you
ones.
can't open them.
Yeah, the ones that you can't touch or play with
Like it's like, why are you buying this for me? I can't even open it.
because it's not really for you.
No.
Like I did a lot of like, oh my god, I did so many American Girl dolls. I loved American Girl dolls. I did
Mm.
Beanie Babies.
Yeah, I liked Beanie Babies, but mostly I just really like
I don't
I don't know, I've always liked dolls.
I'm not a huge fan. I think because they low key scare me.
I have so many more like this isn't even like
Mhm.
I just
Yeah.
I have so many. I have so many. I actually recently went through my collection that I have in
Mhm.
my closet and
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, these are I'm definitely not going to keep. And so I
Mhm.
have the other ones that I am keeping set up, but
Mhm.
I still every day I go to a store that has dolls. I go and look. I'm like, let me see if there's something new. So,
I had an aunt tell me that she would burn my
oops.
dolls if I ever got a white one. That's rude.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I never had white dolls growing up.
I
Like
own I
I
had a lot of
only
white dolls.
I never like there was one time I got a white doll. I'll never forget it because it was one that my mother sent to me. I was in 5th grade or something
Mhm.
like that. Like just at that age where people make fun of you for liking dolls. And I was like, I don't care, I like it. But it was
Mhm.
like a Valentine's Day doll and she
Mhm.
was white. And I remember being surprised because I was like, why'd she send me a white doll? But that was like the only white, and even to this day,
Mhm.
other than this I don't know, blackfishing doll, I don't have, and it's not that, I don't know, I don't know, I just prefer brown dolls. Probably how I was raised.
See,
Because,
I had a lot of so the Barbies back then when I was younger, they had a lot of like the black dolls were in like orange and yellow, and those like my least favorite colors.
mm.
So I
Yeah,
got a
but you
lot of
can
like,
just take off the clothes.
well, yeah, but I didn't do that when I was a kid.
Mm.
It was easier to be racist, I guess. It was easy. It was easier to be racist, I guess.
I mean,
Yeah, but then literally the next year she buys me all the Totally Spies dolls. I mean, because Totally Spies is awesome. I mean, that doesn't make it okay, but like Totally Spies is awesome.
yeah, well, and because I grew up when I was growing up, I think a big reason that I only had black dolls was because they weren't common back then. Like
Mhm,
back in the what was I growing up? The late 80s up into like the 90s, like the only time we got like black dolls, it was like the black version of Barbie, and it was
mhm,
only in like the collector's editions usually. Especially,
mhm,
I grew up in an area where even like the stores didn't really like keep the black dolls in stock.
mhm.
So I just, when we found black dolls, that's what I grew up collecting. And also, I like seeing dolls that are around my skin tone. I'm not gonna lie. I think black people are beautiful, and it's not and I'm not saying that other people aren't. I'm just saying that black people are. That's it.
Thank you for prefacing.
I just in case, because I'm literally married to a white passing person, so I don't like think that all white people are ugly.
That one's okay.
Just, there's a couple of them that I think are cute. So.
That one is fine, I guess.
Well, do they even have like black Polly Pockets? I don't even think
Yes, they do.
so. Do, now, but back in the
No,
day
they
they
did. They
didn't.
did. Yes, they did.
No,
Not many. They did. They absolutely
Hmm.
did.
This must have still been like a point 1.5 generation 1.5.
Yeah, they weren't pretty or anything, but they absolutely did have.
Wow.
They weren't. Yeah, I mean, they weren't great, but like, yeah, they did.
Mhm. That is crazy. I never I missed out. I
And
mean, I didn't really like
honestly,
Polly Pockets.
the only toy from the '90s that I miss is I miss Sky Dancer.
Oh my gosh,
I
yes!
miss my Sky Dancer.
I used to freaking love those things.
I don't recall them. No, I feel like they did. I'll have to check.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'll have to do some
It's
googling.
been a long time. I mean, I feel like I'm the oldest person on this live right now,
There
and I
was
don't
a
remember.
I was watching a video on TikTok and it wasn't a Sky Dancer, but it was almost like a Furby, but it could
Mhm.
like fly. And this like mom is starting it up for her kid, and it makes this like weird activation noise, and it flies and it like flies at the kid, and it's like ah, it's really scary.
That is
Um,
terrifying.
Also, there's a lot of videos of people like using like their vintage Sky Dancers, like they're
I
pulling out
love
storage, and like they just like fly into the fire, like they just fly into the fire.
Oh, no! Man, I have missed those things.
How
I
much
had a
was
pink one. Oh, I remember like going outside and doing it, and then like you think you're so cool when you can catch it, and you're like, "Ooh, look at me, I caught it." Ooh, gosh.
so I can get a similar Sky Dancer for $30, but it's not the old ones that we had.
Mhm.
I want one of
Man,
the old vintage
those were
Sky
so
Dancers.
great.
I want one of the old ones that still felt kind of dangerous.
Could like chop you
Right, the
chop you
ones
a
that
little
look
bit.
like they could be a threat. Like, ah, I want an old Sky Dancer. I don't want one of the new Sky Dancers. I want one of the ones that could like vaguely be dangerous.
Like poke my eye out or something.
Right, exactly. Oh my god. Dolls are insane. Yeah, I have like a very low key fear of them.
Mm,
Like, I think it's just because I think it's just like all the stories of haunted dolls.
that's fair.
So
Mhm.
okay, so I googled Sky Dancer. I put that into my Amazon search. On page 2, Barbie Collector Twilight Saga New Moon Jacob. He's shirtless and he's $23.
Hmm.
I have questions. Also, about this item, based on the number one New York Times best-selling book series Twilight, inspired by the character from the new Twilight film New Moon. I love that this is new when this came out. Jacob Black as a werewolf. He is not a werewolf, he is a doll. Girls won't wait to get their hands on Jacob for the adult collector. Way to make us sound gross.
Does it is it like is it formed after or what's his name?
Taylor
Taylor
Lautner?
Lautner? Because that's
Uh
disturbing. If it looks like
I guess vaguely.
that's what would trip me out. Like if it looks like Taylor Lautner, I'd be like,
I'm gonna put it in the
that's
private chat for Asia to put in the public chat because I don't have the power to do that. He is loosely modeled after Taylor Lautner. I would not say that he looks like Taylor Lautner.
um
Some people might disagree with me.
um
I don't
I
think he looks like Taylor Lautner.
I mean, I guess if y'all wanna see, here's the link.
Also, don't Google weird dolls.
I mean, these dolls are cute.
I didn't say yours weren't. That was not a, that was
These
not a
specific dolls.
that was not a slight on your dolls.
No, I was just saying that these specific ones
Yeah,
are very cute, but
they
other
are.
dolls, some dolls can be very creepy.
Definitely doesn't
I
look
mean,
like him.
honestly, some people like Phineas doesn't like any of my dolls. He thinks they're all creepy. So it's subjective.
I don't specifically think yours are creepy. I also just think like I don't know if I could have like that many eyes on me. Like all of my stuffed animals are like in a basket like near my
Yeah.
door.
Well, they're like not actually like they're not
They feel
real
like they
eyes.
feel like
Like they're
they-
dead. Like
that's
they're more like
worse.
they're dead eyes.
That's
Like
worse. I don't like that. Right. Like I don't want that many eyes on me. Like I'm the kind of person like honestly like if I was like doing something, I would like turn my dolls around. It's like you guys don't need to see this.
oh, see, that's where well,
I
I'm
mean,
an
and no
exhibitionist,
judgment.
so
Yeah, no judgment, but I'm like, "Yeah, you guys don't need to see this.
I'm like, no, y'all can.
It's like you guys
Actually,
don't.
there's actually
Oh,
a hentai that I read one time, that kind of had that premise
mhm.
where this guy's girlfriend had a doll, and then the doll one day came to life and was like, "I've been watching you
No, I
and
don't like that.
her,"
No,
and
no, no,
I
no.
didn't think I was gonna like it, but I was kind of like, this
I
is
mean,
interesting.
I support that for you, but like,
I was
yeah,
like, this is interesting.
yeah. I mean, I support that for you. I personally am not a fan, but I'm
Yeah,
not gonna tell you that you're wrong
fair
for that.
enough.
Oh, I went back to the doll pages. I was closing it out. They have Disney Descendants Uma fashion doll inspired by by Descendants 3, comma Brown. And I'm guessing it's because it's an African American character. But don't say comma Brown. We can see that she's African American.
Hurts my feelings
Comma
sometimes.
Brown. But
Sometimes,
as we wrap up this live stream, do you guys have any more questions, comments, concerns about DubCon or non-con? Uh, Next episode, we're doing a retrospective of Koyonada's work. I'm
mm,
very excited about that, mostly because I get to read her works that aren't twittering birds, and I get to talk about something that isn't twittering birds for once. Uh, I feel every doll has the potential to become a Chucky. That is also true. Like I do low key have that fear that like every
I mean,
doll like
that's
potentially could be
understandable.
like I don't know. Like I don't I'm not like afraid of your dolls, but like I do get a vibe of like most people have too many dolls. It's like I have concern.
It's understandable. Yeah, I get it.
Like I have un worry. Also, I had a possessed Furby when I was a kid. Yeah, like we took the batteries out and it would still laugh. So that was probably also coloring that experience a little bit. But in theory, aren't all Furbies possessed?
I mean, I'm pretty sure, weren't they like inspired by like the Gremlins, or did I just make
They
that up?
were. They
So,
loosely were.
I mean, Furbies are vaguely threatening,
I
just like a
used to
Mogwai.
I used to think that they were cute. You just said the wildest things, Amanda, with little preamble. What preamble do you need to me having a possessed Furby? what what foreplay do you need for that sentence? My Furby was possessed. Like, what do you want from me? I don't know how the demon got in. I was a child. We took the batteries out. It was in the closet. It came out of the closet and started laughing. You explain that shit. Exactly. It possessed Furby. I don't know what lubing up you need for that. I didn't get any when I was a kid having to deal with it. Haunted ass Furby. But I had a good time recording this episode. I mean, I have a good time recording most of our episodes. I have a good time recording most of our episodes. And as stated, I'm excited to talk about Koyonada and some of her work. So if there's anything in particular that you guys think that we should look at, please let us know. If there's a particular work of hers that you think that we should hone in on, let us know. Or if there's, yeah, just any other questions that you have, you guys know where to find us. I'm usually toiling the fields on Twitter and in our Discord. And Aisha will occasionally pop in and either agree with me or or say something and go back to what she's doing, which is fair. Uh, I think that's it. We don't have any other like pertinent housekeeping, do we?
Mm, no, not
No.
yet.
What do you mean not yet? What are you planning? Okay, fair. I don't know what that means.
That was just me doing peace signs.
Oh, I was like, I don't know what that means. It's like panics and anxiety. I don't know what that means. But if that's it, guys, you know where to find us as a unit. You probably know where to find us as individuals. And that's also usually in the description.
Yeah.
I mean usually. I'm trying. I'm trying. But thank you for hanging out with us. I appreciate it.
Yay.
Have a good night. Be safe.
Bye.
Bye.